Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 160. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge on the comics forums, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim. My name is the Sensei, and comics are my game. My intro goes on for 20 minutes, so you won't forget my name. If I was a lantern, I wish my core would be green, but I wear my Star Sapphire outfit in private to avoid being seen. Sean might think this is funny and try to make me the butt of his joke, but when I'm kicking his butt with my pink power, he'll realize how quickly he misspoke. You better believe the name Sensei Sapphire on the surface just works. I'll quickly remind you, being the only male in an all-female core does have its perks. So says the Sensei of the Whatnot Seculant.
How's it going, eh?
It's been a while since we've done this, so I got
Dude,
feisty.
Outstanding. Hold on. This is not a video podcast, so I have to explain to people I am doing the bow motion. Outstanding. I love that one.
On this episode, actually for you and I, this is the first time we've had segments that we recorded, but it's the first time you and I in 2 weeks, I think, have been actually doing this together. So it's a reunion.
I know. I almost forgot how to properly. I had to keep you limber.
Jim, this episode is all Speeding Bullets focused, so we're going to be talking about a ton of books. So I encourage everyone to please check out the show notes because we talk about a lot of stuff. Our sponsor for this episode is DCBService.com, where you can pick up the Batman Cacophony hardcover at a special discount. Written by Kevin Smith with art by Walter Flanagan and Sandra Hope, with a cover by Adam Kubert. Renowned comics writer, film director Kevin Smith steps into Gotham City for the tale featuring the mysterious masked killer known as Onomatopoeia, who sets his sights and sounds against the Cape Crusader. But how does the Joker figure into this saga? The wild ride that caught Batman between the Joker and Onomatopoeia in this 3-issue miniseries comes to a crashing halt as Batman is forced to choose between capturing Onomatopoeia and saving the Joker's life. Featuring an introduction from Kevin Smith and his script from the 3rd issue, 144 pages, regularly $19.99, 50% off, only $9.99. Whatever your shipping preferences, your bag and boarding preferences, DCBService.com is your source for your collected edition needs. InStockTrades.com has a really cool-looking book that I own, and I think it's absolutely wonderful. It's called The Bizarro World Hardcover. Where else could the world's greatest alternative cartoonists run rampant through the DC Universe in an all-new anthology of utterly unhinged stories and art? It could only happen in the Bizarro world. This big slab of comics features the work of many of the fantastic creators who worked on the Bizarro comics book and made it an award winner. This time, the contributors weaving the strange and wonderful tales about the quirky Bizarro include Tony Millionaire, Kyle Baker, Evan Dworkin, Dylan Harrix, Harvey Pekar, James Kochalka, Peter Baggy, Scott Morse, and Ben Dunn, and a bunch of others. These are really interesting short stories featuring Bizarro that take the Bizarro concept in all kinds of different directions. It's a lot of fun for people looking for an interesting conversation book that they can page through, read, a short little segment here, a short little segment there, and just have a fun time being entertained by. Regularly $29.95, 37% off, only $18.87. This is a wonderful read, so if you haven't had a chance to pick this one up, you definitely want to consider it. Either this or the Bizarro Comics softcover, which is also available. And it's along the same lines as $19.95, 37% off, only $12.57. These are wonderful stories if you're looking for something fun. The first one, Bizarro's Comics, is a winner of the Harvey and Eisner Awards for Best Anthology. So these are wonderful books if you're looking for something different that you may have missed, and just something that I'd recommend you consider. InStockTrades.com offers free shipping on orders of $50 or more, so thank you for supporting us. InStockTrades.com.
Yeah. Want to hear something stupid?
What?
I hit my hand.
You hurt yourself doing your watish?
I'm literally...
I love that you admitted that on air.
I don't care. When people laugh. I literally, as I brought my hands over, I smacked my one thumb with my knuckles. I'm like, dang, this hurts.
Is this your first watish injury?
This is the first, show injury, really, for me.
We are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network and the League of Comic Book Podcasts, but they're clearly no longer proud of us.
Not after that one.
Our sponsor for this episode is the CollectionDrawer.com. And Jim, a collection drawer...
I love these things. These things are just really just outstanding. I've recently just reorganized my comic collection. I'm up to 12 drawer boxes, for everything I got, and it's just really just, actually kind of cool where you have them different stacked, and my brother's in town who's not a collector, and he was looking at that going, wow, that's kind of cool. So, yeah.
Well, what the cool thing is with some of the enhancements they made to it, they've actually changed the name of drawer boxes to the drawer box storage system, because now that they have the upright dividers, I took all of my boxes. I've got like 30 boxes, and I reordered these because you can. And that's a great thing. They support you if you originally bought the product with their enhancements. You can buy, a way to upgrade yours. These upright dividers they have. They're called box sort upright dividers. You put these two in the side of your box. You put these two guides into the side. Then you set in the dividers, and it's great because what happens is your comics don't get crushed. Anytime I've got loose comics in my comic boxes with the old long boxes, I used to have this issue where I would either lose a book and you'd find it crumpled on the bottom, or the books would fold back and, the edges would get crinkled or something like that. With these drawer boxes now with the upright dividers, they keep them rigid. So you can actually take a box that's like a quarter full or half full and keep the comic standing upright. But the cool thing about this is, too, like let's say a Green Arrow, Black Canary, and Green Lantern, I've got them in the same box, but I want to leave space for new issues. You can do that and keep them upright and leave a pocket in the back for new issues. If you're reading a series right now and you want to leave a space in the middle for like where you left off or something like that because you want to reread some of your books, like if you got a full run, you can actually put dividers in there and separate the issues and at the same time keep them rigid and stacked and safe so you're not ruining your books at all. This is a wonderful enhancement. At the first one, I read about it online from them. I was like, oh, all right, how well is this really going to work? It's just going to be dividers, right? I've already got cardboard dividers in my drawer boxes that I had purchased separately before they had this. It's totally different. It's wonderful. It's one of the best enhancements for the whole thing. And they've got the box locks now, which they didn't have when I bought the first generations. I ordered those now. So all my boxes are connected together, which is wonderful for the top boxes. Because I don't know if you had that issue with your top boxes. You open them up and they start tipping forward.
Yeah.
With these box locks, that doesn't happen now. So, this is absolutely wonderful. So they called it now the Drawer Box Storage System. If it's collectiondrawer.com, that's www.collectiondrawer.com, and their email address is collectiondrawer@aol.com. Check out the website, though, and this was something, if you've been a long-time listener, Raging Bullets, before they sponsored us, we were talking about this. And now that they've added these enhancements, they're even better. But I've, at conventions, seen people, this is how strong these boxes are, I've seen people standing on them in a demo. Because you can stack them 6 high. So it's a wonderful storage system for comics. But for me, on this show, we preach reread your books. Re-enjoy those books. Especially nowadays, we talk about the economy's crazy and all that. You can open up these boxes, the bottom boxes of your 6 high. You can open them up, pull out your books so easily. You don't have to move the boxes and shift them. Because that was always a deterrent for me for rereading. The stuff on the bottom stayed on the bottom. I would pull from the top 2 or 3 boxes because who wanted to, move all of your boxes every time you wanted to get to a book. This has made it so easy for me to reread comics and to sort through my collection and keep it alphabetical. So I do find that I sort my collection more often now because it's easier to do it. Whereas before, when you had to pull out boxes if you wanted to keep them in any sort of order, that took forever. And it really was an issue of you have to spread everything out all over your space to do that. So it's great. How many? You said you're up to how many boxes
I'm
now?
up to 12 boxes now. They're not 12 full ones. Mm-hmm. And, I've hopped online. I've ordered some of those dividers, which will help out with my organization because I was laying boxes, some of the issues on their side, so that I could have those, divisions and not full drawers. Now I won't have to with the new dividers, so that's going to be kind of cool.
I used to do that too. That was after learning the hard way years ago that, if you leave them in the long box and they're loose, they're going to tip over. I put them sideways now, a stack of them, so that way they hold them up that way. I don't have to do that anymore. Yeah. And when I say it's rigid, it is like structurally rigid and sound. It's wonderful. So if you haven't picked up these things, and if you have original drawer boxes and you want to make them into the drawer box storage system, it's real easy to do. You can go up and they have the enhancements. You can buy as many as you want and fit them right into your boxes. I can't recommend them enough. But for anybody, if you've never bought drawer boxes, go to their site and take a look at them. They are amazing. It totally changes, especially if you got a big collection. It's a great way. And they offer volume discounts if you're buying more of them. So there is an advantage to gradually converting them over. But you can convert them over in small groupings, if you want to do it on a budget, or if you're ready to go to them right now. Remember John Mayo? He used to have on the CGS website his comic room, which is it goes all the way around this closet area of his in this U-shaped environment. He had tons of boxes. It's a beautiful thing, though, when you see all those drawer boxes lined up and see him going through and sorting out his collection. But that was one of those things where I'm still in awe, because I have a lot of drawer boxes, but not that level.
Nowhere near that, yeah.
So that is www.collectiondrawer.com, and I'm just a huge fan of their products, so definitely check it out. Jim, we're talking lots of comics, so what kind of podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a...
You know that island that Elvis is on? If he wasn't... Jim, I pulled some books that I thought were interesting over the past couple of weeks, and there was a ton. I had to stop myself at some point, and some of them were actually going to... We talked about some of the Battle for the Cowl stuff.
Yeah.
We're actually going to save for our recording about Oracle 1 through 3 that's coming up over next week. But I want to talk about Warlord number 2. I liked the continuation of his origin with the news of the returning villain Deimos. His daughter came to Skartaris looking for him and was brought into the world of magic, which brings him discomfort, and he kept... it really kept him away from her, and which has really got to be hard for him with that relationship. Imagine your daughter's been brought over now, and she is something that you fear, which that kind of intensity is awesome. It's tragic in the sense that he is what caused her to even be there to begin with. When the Bard came into the story, the concept that stories can be embellished was brought into play, which I really liked, because the Warlords had rich, long tales that have been told by Mike Grell, and at this point, if they try to play around with any of his universe, it can be easily explained away that some of those tales were embellished.
Yeah,
that was a clever way. I don't know if he did it for that reason, but to me, I was like, wow, it's an interesting plot device. His lover wants to go with him, but needs to stay to protect Shambhala. And I did like the slight jealousy of his cat-like partner, because she is riding with Travis, and, she's a sexy-looking girl. I know if my wife rode off with some buff guy on a horse, I'd certainly have some issues. So I totally bought into this segment. His quest to try and save the population gets sidetracked when he notices his friend is imprisoned. And I would have a tough time with this as well. What would you do? Stick to your mission to try and save everybody, or save your friend who could possibly die? That would be a very tough dilemma, considering how close their relationship was, because the two of them, when he first came to Skartaris, the two of them bonded in the arena where he had originally been a prisoner. So this is somebody who he has a long, rich history with.
Yeah, first thought that did pop in my head is the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. Mm-hmm. So that's...
But it's easy to say that as an outsider looking in, but when you're right smack in the... And I agree with you, so it isn't even... I'm not even disputing you, but in practice, when you're looking right at him, that becomes very different.
And as I said, you just think back, if that had been my brother, or you, or like our buddy Joe, or, these people who they're not biologically my brothers, but they are my brothers, I'd be like, well, I got to help them, and together the two of us can save the day.
Dude, if I saw your brother in there, I mean, it's not my brother.
Yeah.
And, my relationship with your brothers, I know them casually. So, I mean... I would have a tough time with that, saying, this is my friend's brother. How can I not do something at this point? I mean, even going to that type of relationship would be hard to do. So I loved the reality of that moment, and I agree with you with the needs, because that was one of the better Star Trek lines, and I totally agree with you. I did like the sense of progression. You know, his friend's bald now. He lost a hand, uses a spike ball on the stump as a weapon. It showed that this is a very hard world, but also that time has passed. Because we got to see him looking much younger in the origin, but now we've been all brought up to speed, and this is what today looks like.
See, that was a question I had for you, if he always didn't have a hand. You know, because I was like, when I'm reading this, and, you know, I'm loving the fact that I'm jumping in the middle of this guy's story and they're just feeding me his past, and I'm enjoying this so much more than the other relaunch that tried to redo the character and all that. Whereas that was actually, if you think about it, a good starting point, a brand new character, but I didn't like that as much. This one, I'm getting, it's the same character as before. They're feeding me the information I need, and I'm really enjoying Warlord. I'm glad. I will fully admit I picked it up solely because of the show. I knew we would be talking about it on the show, so I figured I'll pick up the first couple issues. I'll give it the first story arc, and I'm already hooked. Issue 2, I want to read more Warlord.
It's a very rich, vibrant world, and to me, I'm with you in the sense that this world having this intense sense of history is something that's really important to me, and this Demos and bringing this villain in. To answer some of your questions, I read Warlord very casually in the past. It wasn't one that I read every single month. I read runs of it, so I don't remember him ever having that spiked hand, but that could be just my faulty memory.
Yeah.
I'd since sold off those issues, and I always liked it. I loved Grell's work, but it wasn't a series that I was able to fit into my budget every single monthly. So I'm enjoying this right now the same way you are, and this is my first time really starting off on Warlord, except I did read the other series all the way through. This is way better. I'm with you.
The funny thing is, I actually had the Warlord action figure. I collected the He-Man figures, and I was at the store one time, and I saw him like, oh, he'll fit with He-Man. So I picked up the Warlord action figure because he had this very similar body type as He-Man. I never knew who Warlord was until we started doing the show, and that first run I was
You
like,
still have
hey,
the action figure?
I probably do somewhere in my house, but I played with it, so it's in used condition.
Yeah, but still, I mean, that's kind of a neat little. If you still have that, it'd be interesting to have.
I'll
that
see if I
thing
can
out
find
on
it.
It'd be interesting to have that thing out on a shelf now because, years later, now you actually know who he is.
I know.
So, are you? I guess touching on what you said before, you bought it for the show for the purpose of knowing we talk about it. Is this a series now that you're invested in?
Yeah, now I'm invested in it, and I'm into it, and I want to keep reading. It's I always say, if you're going to pick up something, at least pick it up for the first run. And we're issue 2, and I'm liking how they're telling the story. It's, I'm getting some action, I'm getting some progression in the story, plus I'm getting some back history. Now, if I do want to see some pretty cool fight scenes, but I think we're going to get to Nick, I think issue 3 is going to have some butt kicking in it. If it doesn't have some serious, fighting, I may be a little bit, I don't know, because I do like action in my comics, but this world just seems, as you said, it's a tough world, and these are 2 warriors, so we're going to get a warrior story out of this.
Don't you think, and I'm with you, don't you think what's been saving it is the flashbacks have featured a lot of the action that we've needed to see in there? So I do think we're going to be getting a lot of that, and I think that's the brilliant part is Grell made sure that there were action sequences at least in the flashbacks if there weren't, because he's developing this rich story. I mean, what they're going into right now, you got to believe he picked up his buddy for some butt kicking.
Yeah. We're talking 3 on 1,000, maybe 3 on 2,000. Yeah. So, it's going to be a throwdown. And the Bard seems like a cool kind of guy, a nice guy, but I don't see him being, the most dangerous of persons.
Or he may surprise us though with his prowess with a bow.
Yeah, he did say he can throw down with the bow, and sometimes archers can be pretty cool characters. So
I want to see what this cat does.
Yeah.
This is going to be kind of fun. So I'm really excited for this series. What have anything
Supergirl 40, man. Oh God, I am absolutely just loving Supergirl. And even this whole world of Krypton, this whole Superman, everything connected, and it just I'm loving it.
Was that the reveal issue?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, and that was the thing. It was funny because the big reveal, of course, who is Superwoman, and it's the final panel. But it wasn't even just the big reveal. It was the whole process leading up to it that I just loved. The storytelling, and it's some stuff where it's there was a lot of jumping around, but can we just start with here's a secondary spoiler warning. If you don't want to know who Superwoman is, we got to talk about it, and we got to just spoil it, and I'm going to throw it out right up front about how it's Lucy Lane. And we were saying back and forth. We thought it maybe was at first, and we said no because there was all those sequences where those two appeared to kind of be in the same place at the same time.
And now, I stayed pretty convinced that it was her, but I've got to say, and I'll admit this fully, they swerved me.
Yeah, I had some doubts.
They did a great job in that issue prior to this to really throwing you off with the fact that they did that sequence where it seemed like it wasn't happening at the same time, but then some of our listeners said in the forum, well, no, that could have been taking place at a different time, and I loved that explanation because it brought it back on the table.
And the thing I was also thinking is it could be the super speed aspect, or it could be just the timeline continuity type thing of a comic book. We truly don't know the timeline. You truly can't tell what's going on before the other and whatnot, but I loved it, and even though I was thinking that, then I wasn't thinking that, and I went back to, I was jumping back and forth. It was still just a great tell because the progress they had going through this. Because not only did we have some cool action sequences, we had some really neat mystery stuff, going on just with the supporting characters. Because we had this whole dealing with Lana Lang.
And what's happening with her health.
Because it was funny because I was first thinking, when they first show Supergirl figuring out who it is, and she's like, she looks at the the costume and she sees something that she didn't notice before, and I was immediately thinking, like, could it be Lana? Could she have done this? No, it couldn't have been her. I was thinking maybe she saw some fleck of hair or makeup or I don't know, something. But then they Lana getting sick and passing out and blood coming out, and I'm just like, wait, hold on, it ain't Lana. What's the heck's going on here? And just these side characters. They had a really cool moment between Kat and Lana, where Kat, she's talking about her niece can't reach her niece, and Kat just asks a simple question: brother or sister? It's like, what do you mean? Well, is this your brother or your sister's kid? And you could just see like the kind of look of panic on Lana's face because she didn't have any background laid out. And as far as I know, Lana doesn't have any siblings. Correct?
I don't remember there being any.
So that's really going to be a tough thing if Kat does more digging, because Kat is a reporter. She is an investigator. Granted, she likes going for the trashy tabloid type, celebrity gossip, but she still has those investigative skills. And I'm thinking she even has that little fuzzy bit that goes on twinkling in the back of her head. She may,
you'd
pick
have
up
to
something.
even to be with the tabloid journalism, you'd have to have that nose for news, the nose for the gossip, the nose for the scoop, whatever. There has to be something that, in order to be really good at it, let's be honest, you have to know when to dive like a shark on that type of thing. So there has to be a talent for that. And I do think that in her case, you're right. And I think that's what's going to be interesting about this this book. Supergirl is one of my favorite Superman books right now. Yeah. It came from out of nowhere.
I know. It was actually, I will admit, it was kind of on the, I was reading it and I was going on and it was kind of on the cusp, and I was thinking, then they had that great story with her promising that one kid that he's going to live.
Yeah, I like that
and that whole thing, that really pulled me back into the Superman, Supergirl genre. And I was like reading it, every issue, it's just getting more and more. And then this one just, the fighting sequences between her and Reacton was just awesome. Mm-hmm. I was just, from the beginning to like all the way throughout that fight sequence, I was just constantly putting on the book and cheering. Yeah. Especially they played her so many times throughout this, and it was beautiful setups. Initially they Major Lane, spots Superwoman, and Kara just flies off, bat out of hell, going to kick some butt. She sees the cloak and the cape and the hood and all that in the distance, and charges at full blast. Realizes, oh crud, this is an empty cape, and it was a complete setup by Reacton. Bam, blasts her with the gold kryptonite. Perfect setup for a Kryptonian. You want to take away the powers, but this is Supergirl. This is Superman's cousin, but more importantly, she was also trained by the Bat. And I love that sequence showing her going back to where he's talking to her about strategies. Like, you have a lot of people that can take away your powers. You got to be prepared for it. And sure enough, she's prepared with, she rigs up a little bit of kind of glider type thing that slows down the descent, and she's able to crash.
But I also loved that during that internal dialogue during that whole thing, she was very unsure of herself and whether or not that would work. but I liked sometimes the difference between surviving and being killed is the fact that you have the wherewithal in a dire situation to be able to think fast enough to try something. Whereas you could be in complete panic. She wasn't. And that does come from training, where you do react, you try to do something in that situation because you click in that moment where you're saying, like, your life flashes before your eyes.
Yeah.
And you remember something somebody told you, and it makes you do something. I love that.
It's the fight or flight, and she knuckled down, she did what she had to do. And just, when she's, standing toe-to-toe with Acton, he's like, you can't blast me with your heat. And she's like, I trained with Batman, with the Amazons. I know first level what food. Just because I can't use heat vision doesn't mean I'm helpless. Okay, maybe she didn't say that.
You had to sneak that in. Yeah.
Come on. You saw it coming just when I started quoting. But seriously, though, I really dig the fact that she was thrown down and she's swinging, she's using what was available to her. She wasn't, one, didn't back down, which there is no quitting her, but two, it's not, oh my God, I'm without my powers, what am I going to do? No, she's like, I got a job to do. I got to take him down. This is the person that killed my dad. I have to stop him now. Yeah. And I just ate that up.
Yeah.
And it was just, oh.
And it's been the build of this story from New Krypton, actually from the first issue where this team took over, where they introduced the whole secret identity concept and all that. There's been a nice build for this character of a relationship when she finally sees her parents again, and we got to spend some time with her and Dad together and see what that relationship meant to her. And to see their clarification as far as to her behavior. They did a real good job of retconning her behavior to the point where it makes sense that she is who she is now. They made her a very likable character. But I think she's even more likable because we went on that journey with her where she wasn't so likable.
Yeah. We've seen the maturity of the character, which is always a plus.
And we've seen
her
when
growth
she wasn't
from her mistakes, which is another really cool thing to see, And I love the editor note that they put in there about, when she first went up against Reacton in issue 25. Because I was sitting there, I'm like, when did they first start? I'm like, oh, wait, there's a note right there. Thank you. Little thing like that.
Thank you. I love editor notes.
Yeah, those things
you don't have to overdo it or anything like that, but that is something where, recognizing that a lot of people, because of the buzz of this book right now, might be jumping on for the first time. Here you go. This is where you can look if you want more information. If you don't, no biggie, but it happened.
Yeah, and it just, and I, be honest with you, right after reading that, I went back to 25 and I pulled it out and I read. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's
so it actually worked for you.
It definitely worked for me because, to be honest, I'd forgotten. I was like, I knew they'd fought before. I forgot that he was the dude with the little orb that surrounded, and then how, that was that whole cool sequence where she was helping people in the village and she was hurting the innocents, and Superman's like, you go fight, I'll go save the people. Needs a little bit more finesse here. Right. And that was another cool moment, another cool Supergirl moment. So this was definitely just one of those yes moments. I'm looking forward to seeing how Lucy got her powers. What's going on with that? And it's funny because I was like, in a way, I was a little bit upset and a little bit glad that it was Lucy because, on one hand, people are going to say, oh, come on, we saw that coming. But I still hold up to the fact that they did a great job protecting the swerve by making the characters appear to be in the same place. But also, I do question...
They got me. I'll admit that. I'll totally admit that. I'm not going to sit there and say, geez, you heard me on multiple podcasts where I mentioned Lucy Lane. And I was totally thinking that, so I'm not going to take that back by any stretch. But that issue, they put enough doubt in my mind that Lucy was still in my head, but I was not 100% sure, and I will admit that completely, that actually increased my enjoyment of the reveal, because I still had those feelings there, but
there was doubt.
I had a doubt.
You had, and I firmly had doubt that it was Lucy again. I was leaning, I was kind of leaning towards, a Kryptonian. And I wasn't sure which one. I didn't think it was her one friend because she was thinking maybe it was her friend, the security off. I was thinking part mom. I was like, I wasn't sure who it could be. But I'm glad to see that it is Lucy. We're going to find out who it is. And you know what? It kind of does fit. She is, her father's daughter. She is this is a soldier. Her job is to, at any cost, protect and defend the country. And she's going to do that. And she's killing innocent people. She's killing the good guys. But there are a lot of military mindset, the militia, you pick it, they're out there where they're like, it's the acceptable casualty thing. Where if I have to, I will kill this innocent person to save these millions of people.
It's the Jason Todd method of
right. It's the Jason Todd method. So there's going to be an interesting.
How is Lois going to react?
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
See, that's where it's even this book has now fed into other characters and some of the other titles. How is Lois going to react to this when she finds out who Superwoman was and what's really been going on behind the scenes? So. Very cool.
One thing I was thinking, are they going to use this as further setup for Supergirl? Try to say that Supergirl is really Superwoman. And say, look at all the people she's killed. This is why we can't trust Kryptonians. Are they going to try to do a spin doctor on it?
I don't know. We'll see. Because they've certainly been following her with cameras enough. So
yeah, they know. And so, yeah.
Can we talk a little Wonder Woman?
Oh, always talk Wonder Woman, dude.
Wonder Woman number 31, I absolutely adored. Alkion is back, and I'm glad to see the Banner being brought back into the fold. The internal politics of the Amazons are always interesting to me. This is an area that makes Diana's universe unique. Ares, incredibly well written here, with a perverse pleasure that he gets from her bowing before him.
Hold on, not just bowing, but making her kiss his sword. Yeah. I was like, oh, that is the ultimate there. Outstanding.
But also digging into her, making her feel demeaned by the whole process.
Yeah.
He deliberately really tried to drive that wedge in there. Now, the totem in his hand, I'm assuming, is giving her some kind of control over genocide? Is that how you're taking it?
That's how I took it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I think. Or I had two schools of thought. One, that's...
I don't think it's for her mantle.
No, I don't think it's for the mantle. But you know what? It would actually make a really cool piece on the coffee table.
Conversation
you put it right there.
Piece?
Nice conversation
I would
piece.
ask.
Yeah. Hey, what's the kind of...
ugly-looking totem?
Ugly-looking totem there.
And why is it in the middle of your table?
Yeah, but no, I was thinking possibly genocide, a controlling agent of that, or actually maybe something we haven't seen yet. Maybe a little bit of more flex, more power. Maybe there's something else out there that Wonder Woman's going to have to worry about, and it's going to come from that thing.
I'll find out next issue.
Yeah.
Also, that pact that no enemy shall touch a lock on the Queen's head until they're all dead, do you see her dying in order for that to be broken? Was that foreshadowing, or at least some of Ares' plan?
Well, or...
Is he somehow... See, my opinion is that he's leading the Olympians versus the Amazons to bring that to fruition.
Yeah, see, that's one of the things I was thinking about with why this thing may not be for control of genocide, but something new.
Okay.
What if their blood of the four of them is what has to go into that to power that thing up and make it something else? So she's got to go kill all her friends.
You mean like a super totem?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking kind of like a super golem type thing, because that looked a little clayish. So maybe she kills her three friends, kills herself, all their blood mixes into that thing and gives that thing flesh to form. So now you have, so here's Diana. She beats the crud out of genocide, wins, and then all of a sudden, oh no, you're not done. That's just round one. I could see Ares doing something like that. Really just kind of digging it to her.
One of my favorite moments was where Diana slowly turned her back to the camera over what happened to Etta. The nurse and Morrow's reactions were very human, and I love that Morrow covered for her. In his own way, showing respect for the warrior, with the tissues saying you might have gotten dirty from the battle or something like that. I really liked that. It was a human moment. It was the Morrow that we saw in 52. You see that guy has got that element to him. So I like that they've shown the creepy nature of the fella, but they've also shown the side that we saw of him that was very human in 52. It's an interesting duality with that character.
Yeah, he's not... my dealings with the guy has been that he's not just pure evil.
Right.
He's not the world conqueror. He's a mad scientist who maybe, in his quest for either understanding of life and death goes overboard.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he's kind of the guy who, he doesn't have that little buffer in the back of his head that says, maybe you shouldn't do that. He doesn't have that, but he does have a conscience. So after he does it, he goes, whoops, that was, okay, that was a mistake. Yeah, I admit, I messed up there. You know, so I like seeing that, you know, that he's not a clear-cut, you know, heartless villain. You know, like, there's some guys out there that are just pure evil and, oops, oh, well, I released a destructive force. Let me get out of the way. Let the heroes deal with that. He's actually stepping up saying, hey, let me help. I can help. Now, granted, I firmly believe that once he's helped or defeated, he'll say, well, we're even now because I helped you. And he'll try to escape and slip out. Right. He won't go, I must be punished for my crimes. I don't see him doing that, but...
Yeah, some of this is definitely self-preservation.
Oh, yeah. But some of it...
And I do think there's genuine guilt, though.
Yeah, there is. It's a nice combination. It's a very human combination for the guy. So
and we do see in this issue that he was manipulated.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because Ares manipulated him and Minerva, and, I mean, the whole crew.
He did tweak everybody. So, he did. So there is a bit of Ares behind it.
I'm not saying that's all of it, but I'm saying there was elements of that as well.
So Ares is kind of like the second shooter.
Yeah, no.
The look of disgust on your face was absolutely priceless. Yeah. I do wish sometimes this was a video podcast.
That's your pink power. Yeah. Cleveland's greatest hero makes an appearance here. And it's kind of cool to see Diana has a physical attraction to her man during the gown sequence. It wasn't overdone, nice and subtle, but it does show, again, a human side to her, which I think is really important. That sometimes you want to take these heroes. It's what we talk about with Superman. Superman is at his best when you can connect with him and relate to him. Diana's at her best when you can relate with her as well. You never lose that iconic Wonder Woman character, but at the same time, we do see these moments where she turns her head away from the camera because this is one of her best friends with Etta. Then you see her with her man, and there's an opportunity there for her. A slight distraction in a moment of distress is something that we all, seeing him was something that brought some life back into her in those moments, and I really liked that. Diana learns that the Olympians are shutting down military stockpiles that can be used against them. They aren't showing people the way of peace, they're forcing the issue. This type of thing always leads to rebellion. Has anything ever improved due to subjugation? I love this exploration. This subjugation thing is really kind of an interesting thing to see how this plays out. I gotta admit that showing up into town on a giant two-trunked flying elephant is a great way to get noticed. I showed up at work once being chased by a three-tailed raccoon, and it didn't give me the same impression from people. The action sequence as Achilles makes his way to the United Nations was really impressive. Again, subjugation. How will Diana react to all this? And we get to see this issue. Like, during this whole thing, I was asking myself, what is Diana going to do? How is she going to react to this? We didn't have to wait for that. It came right in here. This issue delivered a lot of story.
We got high action in this one.
Oh, yeah. It cooked really good. It was great pacing. We will remake the clay of this world, and that which does not shape will shatter. So, Jim, in this situation, would you adjust your shape like Gumby, or would you break apart like a dried-up piece of Play-Doh?
I was once a little green glob of clay. Sensei! Come on,
you could see what Sensei can do today.
Hey,
I want to see you with your pony pal.
With my pony pal, Norge, too.
Oh, great.
Let's pull you into it.
Why not? Yeah.
No, yeah, it's... I wouldn't be one of those resistance type guys or, fighting. You see them coming in, the military throws down and it didn't even phase them at all. I'm just like, yeah. I'd be like, okay, what do you need me to do, sir? How do I do this?
And that would be a very threatening situation because this is a major world power right now that he basically walked in and slapped in the face.
Yeah. And it's... you got to walk the walk and talk the talk, and right now he's doing it. But Wonder Woman, had the exact same mindset. She showed up and she was throwing down, and I was like, once again, we're seeing the diplomat who goes, okay, it's not the time to talk this out. I got to throw down. I have to be physical. I have to step up, show them a physical prowess. Actually, do the fighting side of it. There's, diplomatic times when it's, when you have to be peaceful and you have to discuss it. We saw when she, in the very beginning of Gail's run with the gorillas.
Oh, yeah.
She, talked them down. She used diplomacy. these guys' diplomacy will not work. It's the warrior code now. It's the fight. It's the throw down. Now, once...
I want a Gorilla co-feature, by the way.
A Gorilla co-feature? Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
You can never have more monkeys in a book. I love the gorillas.
Yes.
Okay, from what Athena was saying to Diana, all this was to set up Zeus, so this is an Ares plot. Is that how you read all this?
Yeah.
Ares created genocide for that purpose. And now, do you think that Ares wants the Olympians in place? It's his way to take down the Amazons? Like, we talked about that in the beginning of this. Is that what you're thinking's going on, or is that something you're not sure on yet? Because I'm kind of I got a question mark as well.
Yeah, I'm not
how involved he is on that aspect of things.
I'm not sure. I think the Olympians are just a puppet, a tool for...
But Ares would want war.
Ares wants the destruction of the Amazons, I think. But,
the war between the two sides, I think, would be something that for him would be a moment to try and seize some kind of power.
I don't know. It's a tough call. It's hard to say what's going on in his mind. Because, on one hand, you're like, he is the god of war. He wants the war. He wants the chaos. He wants the anarchy. He wants the rage. That all, fuels him, makes him stronger. Plus, he also wants to be in charge of the gods. So if he gets stronger, Zeus gets weaker, because Zeus has now put all his eggs into the Olympian basket. If those guys get taken down, Ares wins.
Right.
If those guys beat the Amazons, Ares wins.
Right.
So this is a win-win situation for him.
But a lot of this is a direct consequence of genocide.
Yeah.
So in many ways, Ares did set up a scenario for this to happen.
Well, I think he wants the chaos. He wants the anarchy.
Okay, the revelation that the corpse used to make genocide is Diana's, and this is some twisted future version of herself, actually fits Diana's origins, coming from the Earth.
Yeah.
And explains the lasso working so well for genocide. I feel like a dunce I didn't see the connection.
I smacked myself in the head and said, duh. Oh, my God. I was just like, outstanding.
Yeah.
It was
being pulled from the Earth, very similar to how she was created from clay from the Earth.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh, yeah, all right. Good stuff.
And so that's the thing. How is she going to defeat this? How is she going to, defeat herself?
Next issue, it's supposed to be a face-off between the two. So
okay, cool.
That's like the penultimate chapter of this, I think, or whatever. So I'm excited for next issue because they're on the cover of the next issue. I'm almost positive.
It's the throwdown time.
Yeah. Achilles versus Diana. And, you were talking about this before. She knows what they will do to Earth, yet this is an opponent who can predict where to be and to avoid getting hit. I loved her showing her experience and wrestling him. That was so cool. How will Achilles deal when he finds out that he's a pawn being used to cause war versus to stop it? Because he is under the impression that he's trying to stop war.
Yeah.
That even though, he thinks his methods are right, he does think that there is a noble purpose to all this. And I do believe that. It's twisted, misguided, but still, now to find out how is he going to react to that? Because she basically slapped that into his face.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling he believed it from at least the way it looked to me.
Well, you think about it, that's the one thing Diana wouldn't use. She wouldn't use deception in battle.
Right.
And he's got to know that about her.
Right.
She'll use strategy and cunning, but out-and-out deception, no. She wouldn't. It's not honorable.
Right.
Especially, and so I'm wondering if that's going to be the monkey wrench in Ares' plan. Or if, that's what I said, who knows if maybe even if he even cares about them and they're just a pawn for this other piece that he's planning with, with the little glob of the end table. So I don't know.
Yeah. The whole sequence of events, I liked how they woke Diana up, because through this story, she's been worn down by what genocide was doing. She stopped the thermonuclear bomb and is setting off for the next round of battle with this creature. Do you think this is where we're going to see Morrow's help come in at this point? We're going to see Morrow give her some kind of plan for taking down, essentially, herself? And will we see her regain her lasso? What do you think?
Well, I definitely think we're going to see her get her lasso back. And I'm thinking Morrow is going to be one of those in the middle of battle. There's going to be like, I don't know if there's going to be like an energy beam or something like that where he's going to be able to weaken, genocide stuff, or even give, Diana some way to block it or something like that. Because he dealt with some of the makeup behind genocide and the physical construction. So if you understand the buildup of something, you obviously, by just common thought, should be able to break it down. Then, so I'm thinking it's going to be kind of like one of those, I don't know, piece of that final piece that she needs to, to actually, to hurt him, to hurt it, and that final last ditch effort kind of thing.
I would love to see Genocide on Celebrity Rehab with like Kaneki from Grease. Because I mean, Genocide's messed up. So I mean, you think something on there.
Well, there'll be some issues, some definite...
Dr. Drew dealing with genocide. And,
or we see Genocide just grab Dr. Drew. I think you've had a major breakthrough there, Genocide. You can leave now.
Do you think the Olympians are going to factor into the genocide battle?
At first, I was thinking we're gonna, it'll be a tag team between the two of them. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Something's just telling me no. It's like that's going to be
them regrouping maybe
right
now, because the way that the end of the issue was, I very much saw either we're going to see him rally in a certain way or we're going to see another.
The other thing I was thinking, what if Paradise Island changes their rules and allows men on the island?
Here's the other issue. Oh, wait a second. What is Zeus's plan for the Amazons?
Well, he was thinking about getting rid of them. And they're not thinking
having
that.
them, they earned their eternal rest.
Right.
Think about what was said in the beginning of the issue between Ares and Alcyon about when they die, hair on the head being harmed. What if that takes place?
Ooh, yeah.
What if they go to some kind of eternal rest and all that, and they come back? Has that then kicked into effect?
Yeah.
And is that bargain no longer valid? And does Ares know that?
Yeah, well, Ares is a trickster.
Yeah.
And he even said, I don't remember the exact wording, but it's like when you make a bargain with him, it's not always what you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, dude. Oh.
Interesting.
Ooh.
It's cool. I mean, I'm not saying it has to go that route.
I know, but it's the fact that it can.
I love
there's
thinking about, like, what are the options here? It could happen in war, could it happen in that scenario? I don't know. But this book, I am so Wonder Woman happy right now. It's just a fun book. It's a great book. Lots of action, lots of adventure, great character-driven drama. And not just her, it's because the supporting cast is so cool, too. I mean, we're talking about this issue not just about Diana. We're talking about Achilles. We're talking about Genocide. We're talking about Etta Candy. Steve Trevor wasn't even in this issue, but the note to Etta played a major. Cleveland's greatest hero was in this issue. I mean, it's a very cool book. And we're not even talking, Sergeant Steele and that whole crew were in a part of this as well. So, I mean, there is such a large and well-diverse cast in this book right now that you can go through issues without seeing a number of the cast members and yet get a lot of depth in storytelling. So it's very cool. What you got?
Oh, well, Justice League 32.
Ooh.
Yes, I know. I was like, I'm still trying to get my hands around exactly what Dinah did here. One part of me is like, was it the right thing or the wrong thing? When she first initially said she was disbanding it, I was thinking she was going to disband it, then immediately reform it. Mm-hmm. Kind of say, this is the League. We are strong enough. We do not need the Trinity. We are worthy of the JLA. But she didn't do that. She's like, she literally is saying, we're disbanded. Anyone with the JLA credentials can still get access to the satellite via, Oracle, but no, we're done. And I kind of understand what she's doing. She's showing, her team what is so important about the JLA, and they're already even recognizing that the JLA is needed, but it's kind of like her leadership style is more of an open-ended type leadership thing. She's not being the strong totalitarian type, we have to do this.
The problem is she feels that she is not being allowed to be the leader. She is not being followed, and if she can't be the leader, if they aren't putting their confidence and trust in her as the leader, there is no sense in her leading this team. This team is not going to be effective. I actually agree with her on her leadership decision there. I'm not saying I agree on the disbanding, but what I'm saying is I agree with her taking a stand and saying, I'm not necessarily agreeing with the decision on how she handled it, but I like the human aspect of this because I can understand why she's in this place, because she is not being allowed to be the leader that she could be. And she was usurped by the Trinity, and I understand this. It's an interesting exploration. I do want to see some.
Yeah. Now,
and I know where you're going with it. I'm not disagreeing.
I know,
I'm really not disagreeing with you.
And I also want to just make sure people listening don't think I'm saying that it's bad written or anything like that. I'm loving what I'm reading and just the psychology she's using, because I really do think, her plan all along is what you're saying, how she's letting them, see the importance of the JLA, see the importance of her as the leader and being trusted to lead this team. And throughout this issue, we start seeing glimpses of why the JLA, this team, needs a definitive leader. Mm-hmm. They need a definitive chairperson. When they originally go after Starbreaker, things are kind of like, even, Dr. Light's like, well, there's only 5 of us. We really don't need a leader. And that kind of attitude is a little bit off. Now, it's cool that they recognize that the JLA is needed. They recognize that this force is needed, and I absolutely loved how John was written through this. He was just... One of the reasons I love him as a Green Lantern is just his analytical nature, and he acknowledges that sometimes he thinks too much, which is why he wouldn't make a really good leader, but just his breakdown of the different people, why they're good leaders and why they're not good leaders. With Superman, he thinks too much of his team, and he would rather take on the risk of himself. Bruce, great strategist, but he sees everyone like a chess piece. So there's that that balance there. Diana has the blend of both of them. She has the strategist, and she also has that, that personalized nature where she wouldn't throw them, just completely throw them into a suicide mission, but she would also, it's that really just that who she is. And I'm loving that he's recognizing that. And when they go down to the Star Chamber and they take out the 3 chairs and they replace it with the full table with the 7, I ate that up. And even
leaving a slot,
of course, because they're an optimist. Because, Firestorm is an optimist. And I love this comment.
Wells, too. Vixen.
Yeah.
Vixen is totally reading the situation. I love her familiarity because she's been around since the relaunch of this team. I love her familiarity with Dinah at this point, where we're seeing her saying, you know what? She'll come back. She wants to lead. She's ready to lead. She just wants us to let her lead.
Yeah, she's recognizing what they're doing. And it was, I like the fact that, because especially Vixen, you mentioned, she was the one that when Dinah found out that she was siphoning powers off the other heroes, she kicked her off the team. It's like, you're my friend, but... you're a jeopardy. You're off the team. And then once things kind of, figured out with her totem once again, she was back on the team again.
But did it in the way that a leader should.
Right.
Too. Face to face, person to person, and explain why. And that was one of the more defining moments of Dinah's leadership for me.
And I gotta really say, I'm digging Dr. Light.
Oh yeah.
This is a character I have absolutely next to no knowledge of or comfort with or whatnot, and I'm loving seeing she's not the nicest of persons. She is a little bit of a, and they even comment on that, but she's got that, I don't know, that edge, kind of smarmy type attitude, but she's got some serious power to her, and I like seeing her and Firestorm team up. You got the innocence kind of kid there, and then you got the, the Ice Queen, if you will, on the other side. So really cool teaming up together. And the Starbreaker, oh my god, dude. This is a major powerhouse. Now, has he been always like that powerful, or is this an upgrade that we recently seen through the stuff going on, or what's his deal?
My familiarity with him comes through the recent stories that we've read and through that Faces of Evil.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's... I don't know a whole lot about the character, so it's an interesting one for me. I agree with you. You need a JLA powerhouse villain, and it's another good one. And
it sucks the power out of a star 25 light years from Earth and drains about 100 million years out of its lifespan. That's power. That's some serious power. And he wasn't even overloaded by doing that. So we're talking someone who's got a massive reserve who... don't know how the heck they're going to stop this guy. This is when, when you got a villain that you're like, maybe they can trap him, they're not going to be able to stop him. That's a cool JLA villain. Now, the end of the issue especially was a really cool moment for me, where we see them escaping into the shadow. We see Dr. Light diving headfirst into the shadow, because, and we find out she's afraid of the dark. Now, that, for me, is a hero moment.
And that is something that's been established previously.
Okay, so I was going to ask, that's something new, or is that something that's known? And would the villains know that she was afraid of the dark, or is that something that's not common knowledge in the DCU, but it is common among the heroes?
I don't know. Okay,
because it's you got to confront your fears, and I'll just for the record, I have been driving across the I-90 bridge. So I am confronting my fear of bridges. Of course, as I'm doing this, the city is revealing more stuff about how the bridge is falling apart and they're shutting it down for a weekend so they can put the emergency support pieces. That was actually in the news. I'm like, what the heck? That's not me being paranoid, but I still drove across the 90 bridge. So I'm confronting my fear just like Dr. Light.
I would kill to carpool with you every day.
Yeah. The carpool. I carpool with my the one guy from work, Paul, right. And it is it's funny because he as we're getting closer, he just starts talking more and more and more. He's learned that he's got to keep me talking.
Sleight of hand.
Yeah, and it's the one time when he wasn't in the car, I'm driving across the bridge. I was just releasing an epithet of just the nastiest language that I've ever spoken in my life, because I was just like, I'm going and my heart was beating faster, and I'm like, you stupid blah, 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 and I'm beep, 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 dropping every possible bomb you can think of. And I started calming down. And so I think it's talking. I have to, verbalize my, what's going on in my head. So I think I maybe have my, direct approach that may work for me.
Moment of Zen?
Yeah, my moment of Zen is when I'm screaming. So
I'm thrilled for you.
Just wait till the next car ride.
Anything else for JLA you got?
No, that's it.
Superman World of New Krypton #3. I wanted to chat a little bit about this one. I don't have a ton of notes on it, but there were some interesting. This book I'm really thoroughly enjoying. The political intrigue of this world continues to work for me. Clark is actually using the system to his advantage and doing what he does best, inspiring change in others. I love this. The Labor Guild subplot really has me interested. I love that Clark was willing to give up his powers and put himself at risk to make peace, but also knew that Zod's lackey Gorn would attempt to murder the leader of the uprising and use some strategy there with Supergirl. I loved that. I ate that whole segment up. I'm like, talk about a great plan, showing that he can outthink the general when he needs to.
Yeah. And you know what? I love just, every time we see Clark just throwing down and fighting, and just his reference to being trained by Batman.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's fighting, the one is puffing, the guy's puffing out his chest. Clark's like, fine, if we got to do this, let's do it. And, he's bam, bam, bam. Oh, you're not so tough. He's like, what are you talking about? I now know everything you got at me. Bam, bam, bam. Drops him. No problem whatsoever. I just ate that up because it's, this is Superman, but it's not only Superman, he is Earth's mightiest hero. So he's got the knowledge, he's got the training.
And the experience, and he utilized it. Allura has become a character who I'm starting to like more. I don't know where this came from, because she annoyed me to tears. But as this has gone on, and we've gotten to see that she's not like in Zod's camp. It's that she really genuinely believes that this is the best thing for her people. So she's just a little misguided at the moment, and it's clear from her interactions, unless she's snowing us something good, it's clear from her interactions with Kal-El that maybe she can see the light. Maybe he can reach her.
I think she's seeing the light, and I think she's coming around, It's the, just... Yeah, she's going to be a reluctant leader. Okay. Beat me up for it. I just had to throw it out. But no, seriously, we're going to see more of, she's going to start recognizing that the Earth influence on Cal isn't a bad thing. And she's going to take lessons that he's learned from Earth and from from his human existence and apply it to the greater good.
But I think she's actually becoming a better leader because of the fact that she's taking in all the information she can and, absorbing it and trying to come up with her own plan on what she thinks is best. I do like that Zod isn't the in-your-face villain, but is truly taking his role as general seriously. This is something that he believes he's destined for. This is who he is. So we've already seen that he has his own personal agenda on Earth, but he really does see himself as a military leader on New Krypton and is acting accordingly. He listens to Clark when he presents situations that are sound from a military standpoint because they make sense and would benefit Zod as well. I totally think he's, got Clark exactly where he wants him in his eyes for the purpose of utilizing that, but I think he's also seen a benefit to saying, hey, this guy's got a good idea here. I'm going to use it because military-wise, it's very sound. Let's go ahead and use this. I like this level of depth that nothing's cookie cutter here. We already know from other storytelling, especially in Action Comics right now, that Zod's up to something major. But it's not as simple as that with this character. And there are elements of him where you're kind of like, well, he's being a good leader there.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys where on one hand, I'm still trying to firmly get a grasp on him. Would he just turn a thing to his plans and say, screw it, let's just for the purpose of destruction, or would he always take what is overall the right plan? If it goes against what he wants, his plan, I think, is the destruction of Earth or the conquest of Earth. I think he recognizes that New Krypton will not be a thriving planet. It can't, the mechanics behind the planet, it's not able to sustain life. And they're going to have problems in very near future. When that happens, Zod's going to want to go to Earth. And he's laying the ground, the game plan. He's got sleeper cells going on Earth throughout the planet to, set up that takeover. Now, in the end, if the Science Guild, if the different guilds are able to make New Krypton a working, functioning planet, will Zod give up his conquest of Earth for New Krypton or not?
I'll tell you why he wouldn't. From a military standpoint, it makes sense. I'm not saying that this is, a moral standpoint. I'm saying from his standpoint, if you take morals out of the equation, strategic-wise, even if you've got a thriving planet out there, the natural resources that Earth represents, slave labor, actual, physical resources, oil, food, things like that can all be grown here and all that, to not have that under your control, you have to look at that. He doesn't view them as people on the same level as the Kryptonians, and neither do quite a few of the Kryptonians. We've seen the interesting dynamic that they don't see humans the way Clark does.
Yeah, they see humans the way we see cows.
Right.
And the way we see chickens and whatnot, those type of animals.
That's where Clark baffles them,
right?
So I do think that he would continue that conquest. That's just my take. I'm curious it's an interesting discussion point.
Yeah, and on one hand, it's funny because I completely agree with you, and then I'm wondering, I wonder if they could turn him, if they could show Zod, hey, no, this will work. Keep them apart, keep Earth and New Krypton separate, maybe even pull New Krypton away from Earth a little bit in a different orbit. I don't know. It's on one hand, part of me would like to think Clark can get to him. Clark could influence Zod and change Zod's opinion, change Zod's mind. Now, do I think that'll happen? Probably not, because there is a level of hatred. There is that level.
Clark would do it though. No. If Clark thought there was a genuine way to make that work, he would try.
Yeah, and I completely. But it said, could he reach him? Could Clark reach General Zod? I don't know.
I don't either.
And that's the interesting thing that we're going to see with this. Will Clark be able to reach? Yeah, will it go that way? Will Clark be able to reach his people? Because he's already started influencing some of his people. We've seen that, and I'm loving the fact that we're going to get this class change. We're going to get this new structuring in New Krypton. So I'm just really chomping at the bit for more Superman stuff.
I totally agree with you. Superman's been awesome. Jim, I wanted to talk a little bit of Battle for the Cowl. Some of it we're going to save for our upcoming Oracle episode, which is going to be not next episode, but the one afterwards. We're going to do Oracle 1 through 3. And we'll talk about some of the other Battle for the Cowl specials. But I wanted to talk some of this because, and particularly the network, I really liked this cover. When I saw it, there was something captivating about it. Yeah. I'm a big Cassandra Cain fan. And I have to admit, in my eyes, I hope I'm wrong on this, she seems to have a big target painted on her.
Yeah, big target, possible changing up on her. I don't know what's going to happen to her, but I think we're going to be seeing some changes.
I'm really worried for her.
Yeah.
Hugo Strange is playing a dangerous game with the new Batman. Well, I should clarify, the Jason Todd version. Yeah. Interesting that he is using fake Batmen to capture victims. Do you think Jason cares if 2 or 3 die?
No, not at all.
No, he'd be expendable in the face of his larger mission. He would actually consider that one of Bruce's weaknesses, right?
Yeah. Oh, Bruce's biggest weakness is the fact that, he wouldn't let those who, he wouldn't let a couple people die.
So Hugo's operating under the impression he's dealing with a similar Batman.
Right. Hugo's a little bit off on his logic there. He needs to reevaluate what he's doing, because that not only is not going to work with Jason, it's going to get Hugo dead.
I was glad to see some time placement here. With Freeze's capture, it takes place shortly after the Commissioner Gordon special. The flirtation between Oracle and Nightwing was great, and I would love to see that relationship renewed. Can I hit Black Spider one more time? No? Well, okay, just once, Kate. Great moments. This issue really showed what is so cool about Oracle when she's coordinating a force during a situation. I loved the segment with Huntress and Cassandra. Helena is willing to make the hard choice and kill the criminal to save the others. I loved the moral dilemma Strange put them in. Cassandra learned well not only from Bruce, but from her own recent mistakes, and we see her stick to her mentor's code here, showing again a transition back to respecting for who Batman is and what her role is there. She stops Helena, which turns out to be a good thing because the guy actually was innocent. The betting on the outcome of the turmoil, the old lady, the junkie mom, the convicted killer. Now, I gotta admit, dude, if I was into horse racing, I'd bet on convicted killer. Any jockey that names his horse Junkie Mom clearly has no faith in her racing prowess.
Oh, man, that's just wrong.
I'm just saying. Each of the squads are trying to track down the 3 victims while also handling situations arising in Gotham. I loved seeing Wildcat take out Dr. Phosphorus. I miss Misfit in a monthly book. I really got into that character.
Yeah, Misfit's a cool character, and it just... Yeah, I see big things for her in the upcoming.
We're going to be doing a upcoming thing on the Oracle Mini, but who do you think the next Batgirl's going to be? We've got Cassandra, Stephanie, Barbara, Misfit. There is going to be a Batgirl. Is it a series or mini-series? I'm forgetting what's coming up. There's a new Batgirl #1 coming out. I don't remember if that's a series or a mini. Whatever, that's going to be obviously answering that question. Who do you think it's going to be? Do you think Cassandra's going to keep her mantle? Do you think it's going to be Stephanie, Barbara, Misfit?
I was thinking we're going to lose Cassandra. And okay. I'm not saying I want that to happen.
I don't either.
Especially her mini-series that they ran, I thought was really cool, and I really like seeing it. And you're talking how in the network here, she's sticking to Bruce's code. She's starting to follow the code. And that's part of the reason why you said earlier she's got a bullseye on her chest. That's why I think she's got an even bigger bullseye. She's starting to come around. Yeah. She's starting to turn and be the right, the hero that, that Bruce is. And
Did you read any of her like this previously?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I really did not read her
this
before.
This is very true to Cassandra Cain.
Okay. Yeah, and I that's why I just keep thinking they're building up this character to kill her off. And I hope I am wrong, but I think she's going to go away. And the couple things I was thinking is, one, I was thinking maybe Wendy, because that's the whole reason why Oracle is dealing with, Oracle's dealing with Wendy. Maybe Oracle will become the new mentor to Batgirl and be Wendy. Mm-hmm. But, of course, if you're talking Oracle is the mentor of Batgirl, the first name that always pops in my head is Misfit. Mm-hmm. Now, you throw in the whole possible of Spoiler in there, and I don't know. I can't see Spoiler becoming Batgirl when she's been a Robin already. I see her becoming Spoiler again.
Babs telling Misfit that she'll hopefully never stop babying her. I'll just jump to that real quick, because that was a part where I was thinking to myself, well, maybe is Misfit going to take this mantle? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's it. A lot of thoughts enter my head. I'm not 100% sold on anything. It's interesting. I am pretty sold on that it might not be Barbara.
Yeah, I don't think...
I was leaning more that it was they're going to throw Barbara back in there. I think that they put up a red herring for us.
Yeah, the main thing I honestly really... And this is something I think I said from the beginning, that I don't see Barbara going back to being Batgirl. Mm-hmm. Just like I never see Dick Grayson going back to being Robin. Mm-hmm. They've evolved beyond that. Maybe she would develop some... If she got her legs back, maybe Oracle would become a field agent, and she would develop a new persona for herself. But I don't,
You don't see a grown man running around in the pixie boots?
No, I don't see a grown man running around in pixie boots. I hope to God I never see that in real life. Though we have seen that at some of the cons, and I say that's just wrong every single time. Come on, guys. Oh,
Especially when you got the great Tim Drake outfit that you can
Yeah,
put on.
I know.
Or even if you want to go Dick Grayson, do the Earth 2 version.
yeah, Earth 2 version, or the teaser out there that's the Damian version of Robin.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't see Barbara becoming Batgirl again. I really, ideally, I would like to see Cassandra do it and be, the good, honest, honorable hero that she can be, and we've seen starting to grow into it. But if she's gone, I'm hoping Misfit, because I absolutely love Misfit.
Want to play a game. Oracle is great, and I'm starting to wonder if we really will see Barbara as Batgirl. I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
I mean, this want to play a game thing, and then the whole thing that she did with Hugo Strange and telling them that their money was going to be taken. This is vintage Oracle at her best. That moment, my jaw dropped. I'm like, no, how can you make her Batgirl again when they're doing this Oracle bit? And this was as I was reading this, I kept saying, Batgirl, can they really do that?
No,
now?
she's
doesn't
the best
make any
at
sense.
She's the best at what she does, and right here, this is how Oracle takes it down. How do you hurt the bad guy? You go after what hurts
I'm
them.
really
The
starting to
money.
think that.
You follow the money. You hit them where it hurts. They don't care about you bust up their operation, you arrest them, throw them in jail. They don't care. It's the revolving door of justice. They know they'll get out.
Yeah.
You take their money from them. That's something that makes it hurt. That's personal, and that was just absolutely beautiful.
There is no try. Do or do not. Cassandra's attitude is great in a group situation. It worked in The Outsiders, and it certainly works here. They free the victims, and there's a couple of great moments here, like I said about Babs and Misfit. Ragman noticing the drugs in the junkie's mom's body, telling her that she's still a prisoner. He's a character I really enjoyed in Shadow Pact, and it was great to see him here and utilized so well.
And we saw bits and pieces of him in Robin.
Oh, yeah.
I love the fact that he is a Gothamite. The Gotham is his home, and we're gonna see more of him, and we're gonna see his interaction. Now, granted, I would love to see him more on a regular basis and a more permanent base of operation. But when we use him, as long as they're using him correctly, I'm glad, because he's a cool character.
The secret that Misfit's hiding that Ragman caught. What did you take that to be?
Wasn't that the lineage maybe of her and Black Alice? Because he knows Black Alice.
Yeah.
So maybe he can see that lineage.
Well,
maybe there's the fact that
Or is there something else?
Misfit, remember when Misfit's learning her teleportation powers and she learned that she can't take someone with her?
Oh, okay.
She said she killed her cat when she did it, and then she killed
Granny Goodness.
Thank you, Granny Goodness.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really her. That was Black Alice who stole her powers.
That's right. Yeah, that's how that all came out. Though.
But what if Misfit tried teleporting a person as
Right.
well? What if it wasn't her cat?
Oh, maybe that is something that
What if
you should reveal this, or she should tell this.
Right, maybe 'cause she said she tried teleporting her cat. Maybe she didn't. Maybe when her family was trapped in that fire, she grabbed her it was her mom and her little sister. Or was it just her mom? I can't remember. But maybe she grabbed one of them and teleported out, and then boom, they exploded.
Right.
So maybe that was a lie that she told. That probably. If I had to bet any money, that's what I would say. But the fact that she killed her mom, accidentally by teleporting.
Speculating that Misfit might be the next Batgirl, though.
Yeah.
Why would they put that there? If it's the Black Alice thing, okay. But if we're talking about that, why would that be put here unless this is leading to something?
Well, because Ragman can see
what I'm saying
death
is,
and all that.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it seems like a strange thing to leave you hanging with if they're not going to follow up.
Well, you think about it could be something where,
and I could be reading too
it's
much
the
into
code.
that.
Remember the code of the bat is do not kill, and that could be she could say I'm not worthy of the title. I've taken a life.
Oh, okay.
That could be the thing.
A reason why she wouldn't be.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe it's I don't know. There's this. I'm hoping. I know we're going to get some payoff on that.
Oh, sure.
Somewhere along the line, we're going to find out what it is exactly. I am leaning towards the fact that she teleported her family out of the fire and they killed them, but that's just my guess.
Barbara's lecture to Helena is vintage Birds of Prey. Helena has become a better person due to her relationship with that group. She and Barbara have butted heads multiple times over similar concepts, and I loved the poking fun at Helena's not-so-functional costume with her sewer duty. That was such a great moment. They referenced the costume multiple times, and they're like, why did you choose to go back to that one? And it was really just an interesting, great moment. I loved this book. And I felt this way about all the one-shots and minis so far. So it's been a very worthwhile event.
Yeah, this has been. I'm digging this, seeing the life without Batman, Gotham without Batman. Just the fact that, this whole concept of the city wouldn't survive. Well, it'll tear itself apart, and the heroes need to change their MO. They have to change how they're going to deal with the problems. Now,
I definitely want to talk Jonah Hex number 42. I am a huge Jonah Hex fan, and I could never go over to trade at this point with Jonah because I need my monthly fix. This one shot was great. It started off with Jonah in the middle of this high noon style face-off, but the only twist is that he had both arms shackled with heavy weights attached to each end. This leads to another fleshing out of his childhood where we get to see how hard his dad pushed him. But also, his mother, who truly loved her son, tried to speak up against the abuse his father put him through. Because he was like slapping his hand with a stick and stuff like that because, he wasn't tough enough. And it's really a very deep-rooted, hard exploration as far as what would make this kid grow up to be this man that we see in this book.
A definite eye-opener into why he's, who he is. Yeah, and that was kind of a cool thing.
Because it shows the duality.
Yeah.
He can be this cold, bitter, like SOB type character, but you also see the compassion due to mom from time to time. And that was interesting in this. It's one of the things I love when they're fleshing out this character.
This is going to be a weird analogy, but Tiger Woods, his father, former military, he was a colonel military, but he was special forces. So not only was he a hardened guy, special forces is, it's the psychological warfare.
Right.
And, there's these great stories of how they said he supposedly was throwing teas at Tiger while he was putting, just so he could, to try to distract him. And then you get his mother, who's, the Zen Buddhist, just that, that calming, relaxing figure. And it's like, I'm like, oh my God, this is modern day. This is, another rendition of Tiger. And so, Jonah Hex is the Western version of Tiger Woods.
I was laughing. Only on this show would we make a comparison between Jonah Hex and Tiger Woods. Jonah Hex is the Tiger Woods of the DC universe.
I told you it was going to be a weird one. But
but you know what the funny part is? I was laughing all through it, but I'm like, I totally get where he's going with this, and it's funny because it works, but it's so bizarre. And it does work, though. So, I'm totally defending you here because it is funny. It's great to see his father teach him respect for his name. Very classic Old West. When the boys were beating him up, Dad took them out for messing with a hex, but told his son that there needed to be a reckoning for them in the future on his own, that he needed to come back. It can't be all about Dad protecting you. And that was an interesting lesson. It's name, pride. It's a great issue because his upbringing helps us to understand the bitter man that we follow and what drives him. It turns out that the men who had him cuffed and his arms weighed down are those boys. Very cool action sequence that Hex drops to the knees, gains the advantage. You knew he was going to escape, but the journey to that point was so wonderful. The art is always sharp and dynamic, takes you back to the Old West. The colors are brilliant. It's just a wonderful series. There's more depth to the story than I'm even revealing here, but you definitely want to check this issue out. This is rising to be one of my top 5 books, and I'd be hard-pressed not to say that it... when we talk about, what would your top 5 stack if you could only keep 5 books, this is one of those books that I would have a hard time not putting in that stack. There's so many high-quality books out at the moment, but Jonah Hex is one of those in a very short stack of books for me that there's times where I will stockpile this book, not because I'm not enjoying it. There's times where I'll stockpile it and then I'll just sit down and read a whole bunch of them together, and I enjoy that experience of it. But yet there's other times where, like with 42 when it came out, I grabbed it right away and read it. And it was one of the first books I read out of the stack because it was just because we had that Sawbones 2-parter.
Yeah,
that was before this one, and I thought that was so cool because I read those back to back. And it was one of where I stockpiled it. But then I liked that so much that when 42 came out, I just read it like right away. So this is a book that I could not drop in a million years. would be very tough for me. It's Gray and Palmiotti at their best with a rotating art team. Colors usually stay the same, but that even switches a little bit. And it's been the same colors since the beginning of the book. And they definitely, the creative team and the art teams, even when they rotate, they really capture the Old West feel and style, and it takes you to another time and another place. And I really like that they've stayed away from the main DC universe. Like, I don't need to see... Like, I don't mind if they do a Batman Jonah Hex crossover. I don't necessarily want to see it in this book, though. I would like to see that, do it as a crossover, a one-shot or something like that, as a mini. Keep this book where it's at. This book's set in its time frame. Like we talked about Warlord before. Yeah. Except Warlord, I'd even give more leeway to doing it than I would Jonah Hex, because this Western exploration of this character, it's going to be a movie. And it's...
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. So...
Yeah, it's one of those things. I am honestly a little bit worried about the movie.
Oh, I'm not.
And here's the reason why I'm worried about the movie is this character has these, as we were talking just now, just this dynamic depth to the character that who could very easily, though, become one-sided. He could just become the scarred-faced killer. And you could lose this duality in the nature and this in-depth of who he is. And I hope we don't lose that. I hope we still get that character. And
I don't see the point in doing a Jonah Hex movie if you don't show the hard-edged bitter man, but then show the compassion that's lying underneath there as well. I think something's really lost. You see his code. The man has a code, and there's a definite, reasoning to who he is, aside from being a bounty hunter. So, to me, it's like, why make a movie if you didn't do that? I've got a lot of confidence that anybody who would pick up Jonah Hex and say, geez, I want to make this movie, if they don't know that, they shouldn't be making movies.
Well, it's, but Hollywood, will mess things up all the time. So it's, So
and you know what? You're right to be concerned with that because we've seen it happening before. It's funny, 10 years ago at this time, I would have been a lot less confident. Now I'm a lot more confident that we're going to get this right. Then, there's been some stinkers along the way the past few years, but...
Catwoman! Oh,
yeah.
Excuse me, I had to sneeze there.
Yeah, and I know the Spirit's another one of those, too. I finally saw the Spirit, and I enjoyed it, but I definitely get why people didn't... Because it was a Frank Miller version of the Spirit, so it's not the same Spirit that we're reading in the monthly comic. And I don't want Jonah Hex to be anything less than a tried... Gray and Palmiotti need to be involved in some capacity.
Hopefully there's some type
consultants or something if they're going to do this. Because if you're not pulling these guys in, what's the matter with you?
Yeah.
Because they're nailing this book every month. So it's in many ways this is my spiritual successor to their run on Hawkman. As far as fitting in that category for me, because it's their badass book.
Yeah.
I'm loving what they're doing, and we're going to talk about Power Girl actually in a couple minutes, but. This is, for me, this is what I liked about them on Hawkman, because they just understand how to balance that and how to keep this character like that. They did this for Carter Hall. They did this with Jonah Hex. They take these characters and make them way cool for me. Jeff Johns and Gray and Palmiotti are one of the reasons why I love Hawkman so much and why I went back and got runs that I hadn't completed previously. So, because I wanted to read more and invest more into learning about the various incarnations of Hawkman. It's because of them. These are guys also, I picked up the showcases for Jonah Hex. I went back. I did read the Vertigo stuff previously, and I can recommend the Vertigo titles. The Joe R. Lansdale written Vertigo titles were excellent. But Gray and Palmiotti, month after month, they keep me back to this book. I tried to go to trade with it, and I can't. I did it, and I'm like, I can't do this. I've got to have... Because there's too many times where I want to read it then and there, where I'll see a cover, and I'll be like, oh, I got to read this. I want to read this now. So I'll never go to trade again on this one.
I actually stopped doing the pre-orders because I was like, I'm going to force myself to go to trades on it. Mm-hmm. And so I have a gap from the from the DCBS service, the shipment there that instead of waiting for the trade, I went to my local shop, picked it up, and I'm like, I'm not going to do this.
That Sawbones arc was really good.
I'm like, oh, dang it.
It was
okay, it looks like I'm not going to trades.
Because that would have been issue 40 and 41, because it's the one right before this one, and that's another one. I really, anybody out there, if you're like, oh, geez, where do I start with Jonah Hex? 40, 41, 42, just go and read them. 43's out right now, too. I haven't read it yet, but...
I don't remember. Did I announce on the show that I went back and got all the way to issue 1?
Of Jonah Hex?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, I did? Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't think.
I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it pulled me in too much, and I was like, what the heck? Okay. So, yeah, I've gone back all the way to number 1 on Jonah Hex.
Interesting writer study. Why don't we just jump into talking about Power Girl right now?
Yeah,
because just to talk about how two writers can then do something so totally drastically different and yet nail it as well. There's Power Girl. Issue kicks off with a quick recap, and I really had fun with this book, and they play up to the artist, and which was really smart too. The story's crafted in such a way that it plays up to the art style. This is very much, it's the same creative team from the JSA Classified issues right before Infinite Crisis, and great action. Cool internal character dialogue with the right amount of wit. It just, the fun nature of this character. The one thing that stayed constant for me is that this series feels very different. Here's a character whose life hasn't exactly been perfect. Many times she didn't even know her true origin. She finally got a chance to go back to her home, but imagine going back to your own planet or universe, whatever you want to call it, and finding that you've been replaced by another version of yourself. Not a doppelganger or anything. In there, it's somebody who genuinely belongs there. So now all of a sudden you're like... it's not about knocking that person out of their spot. You don't belong anymore.
Yeah, that's not your universe. That's not your home. You're gone. Nothing.
This leads her to try and build a new life here in New York. And I love the fight with the aliens, where we see the civilians have their own little affectionate nickname for Power Girl and PG. And, the aliens actually turn out to be robots, but they attack the emotional spectrum. And I was kicking myself later. I'm like, why didn't I see who this was going to be?
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it coming. I like this because we see that for as tough as she is, psychic attacks do have an effect. And I'm a fan of different explorations of characters, and her internal dialogue worked here to help us to get to know her. Whatever kind of fear device they are using is making every bone in my body want to go home and crawl back into bed. But that's not me. In all of the craziness that her life has been filled with, we see how far she's come. This is a woman who, because she was a leader of the JSA, feels like she's evolved into something more, and that is the distinction. Same creative team from that JSA Classified arc, but this character has evolved a bit. I really like that Amanda Conner does a really nice job of capturing fun and excitement with this character, and there can be some downright silly moments which are totally appropriate. But then you can get to some somber and serious moments that fit, and then some high action moments. There's a lot of different emotions that are conveyed on these pages. This build into discussion of internal sickness and disgust, this wave is generating inside her, made me really respect her as a hero to keep fighting on. I think about days where I have an intense headache, or I'm sick to my stomach, and how that changes my motivation. Again, comics teaching life's lessons to continue pressing on in any situation. These heroes inspire us as readers, and I ate that up.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things, when you talk about female superheroes. Are they just there for the is it just a physical thing for the guys, but a inspiration role model for the females? And she's a character that is accessible to everybody. There's the one quality that immediately draws everyone's eyes, especially the males, but there's more to this character than just her physical appearance, and we're seeing, and it's getting fleshed out, and we're getting, into the core of who she is. And I was hoping this was the kind of exploration we would get from this series, and it started right from the beginning to give us that. So I was like, cool, I'm glad this is, showing us a little bit behind who she is. And where I'm hoping we're going to get to see, the female, the person, the non-Power Girl, just her Clark Kent.
Right. There's a great choice with jumping us right into some Power Girl action, but then jumping back in time, reestablishing her civilian identity. America used to stand for ingenuity, style, a sense of adventure, and dependability, which is why she chose the old muscle car for the demo. I liked that her company's approach really keyed in on issues facing us today, right here and now. Should have known the big band was going to be the Ultra Humanite.
Yeah.
My favorite line, Ultra Humanite is a study in repulsiveness, pathetic, egotistical, and fixated on revenge for real and imaginary reasons. I'm sure this behavior can be partially explained by a childhood of bullying and a lifetime of failure and humiliation, especially by women. I mean, he transplanted his brain into an albino gorilla. This is just terrific dialogue. I love the humor of this character. It never feels like so slapstick that you lose the strength and power that this is a character who's been leader of the JSA.
Yeah.
I like that aspect of it. Please stop messing with my globes. With all the funny office moments, the book never goes too far.
Yeah.
And I really want to see how she resolves the issue with the Ultra Humanite. I want to see more of her civilian identity. And will she give up her body in exchange for the planet?
I got a guess is what's going to happen.
Okay.
The schmarmy guy who was the idiot who was in interviewing with her that she told to hit the bricks. Mm-hmm. Somehow, I think he's coming back, and that's what's going to happen to the Ultra Humanite. He's going to get into that body instead, or something. There's going to be something like that.
I don't know.
Because there's a reason he was introduced, and it wasn't just to show her as a powerful woman, as a strong business person who would say, hit the bricks.
You don't see him being a different kind of adversary, or different kind of, maybe an adversary for civilian identity?
Maybe later on.
Like that? Yeah.
Maybe later, I don't know.
Because
in order for the Ultra Humanite that popped in my head.
Yeah, in order for the Ultra Humanite to get in him, they had to transplant his brain into that guy. And I guess at this point, if we're going to take him out of albino gorilla,
yeah.
To put him into that guy seems a little anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Because then you're taking out the fact that you could use that guy.
True.
To me, you said I agree with you that guy is going to be a player,
yeah.
But I think that guy is going to be a player because he's scorned.
Okay, true.
Possibly.
Okay, I stand corrected. I'm probably off on that one. I'm going to say probably an off.
But I agree with you. But
he's going to be in a play. There's going to be something. There's going to be somebody. He's coming back again.
Yeah. I mean, we're in sync there. I do think that guy's not a throwaway. It was important that we'll see him later because Gray and Palmiotti usually.
Yeah, they lay the layers, and it's an introduction ground rule kind of this build.
I enjoyed did you read all the Terra Mini?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The JSA classified for this team, then into that Terra Mini, which had Power Girl in it, right onto this. This Power Girl exploration by this team, it's been fun. And I love, I like different explorations of Kara. I like different, tones. And this is a great example of a book that I am going to be entertained with every month. Talk about a very different book from Jonah Hex that I was just talking about.
The same team creates those two books.
And Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters, for example. That's even very different than all this. So I like that. I actually got from IDW the collection of their the Resistance series that came out from them, which was a Wildstorm book that has now been collected through IDW. And there was something this month that was solicited. I'm forgetting what it was. Go to IDW and you'll see that there's something else from Gray and Palmiotti I pre-ordered. I forget the name of it, but it was just because it was them. It's a great example of creators that, if I know that they're doing something, I try to seek out creators that I really like and writers that I really like, and follow what they're doing. Freddie Williams is a great example of that. I tend to follow his work. A Chance of a Lifetime, I think it's called. I'm following that through iVerse on my iPod Touch. That's being delivered. There's 2 issues of that's been out. I tend to follow creators that I really enjoy, either their artwork or their writing. And Gray and Palmiotti are I tend to follow anything that they do, whether it's in and out of comics or not. Dead Space, they did the direct-to-DVD release of the animated Dead Space video game Prelude. They wrote that.
Oh, cool!
And so it was a totally animated feature that led into the world that the game presented. And I really enjoyed that presentation. It added to the game for me to set up mood and atmosphere. So Gray and Palmiotti are just, it's kind of whatever they do, I follow because I know I'm incredibly satisfied after I'm done reading their material or watching something that they have written. And, that's important to me. So there's these creators out there that are really doing some neat things, and It's kind of cool. So I'm glad we got to do this. I didn't intentionally put Jonah Hex and Power Girl back to back. It just wound up that way in my notes, and it was an interesting contrast for a creative team. Dead Romeo #2.
Oh my god, dude! I tell you, I'm loving this vampire story.
Oh yeah.
It's just it's the scramble, run, stay alive, and you just keep running until the sun comes up. Of all the movies I've seen, and the books and stories I've read, this is not something I've normally seen a thing, and it makes sense. The vampires are going to keep coming and coming and coming until that sun comes up. Mm-hmm. So you got to just keep on, it's stick and move, because in the dark they got the advantage, and you can't just hold up and hide from them. They're going to keep finding you, and I love that. That was just an outstanding story that I really do not remember seeing in other tales.
I'm glad this is a miniseries. And I'm not saying that I want it to end there. I would love to see another miniseries developed if the storyline ends in such a way that it can continue. I think this works real well. When you're talking about a movie, this feels more like a movie presentation. It feels like a good action film, a good horror film, and I think it works well in these compressed. It's kind of like we talk about some of the Wildstorm minis that we've really enjoyed, where they've just kind of worked well like that. This feels very much like an action horror movie to me, where it's got that kind of feel to it, and it works as a miniseries. So I'm hoping that if this does well, and I'm hoping it does because I really enjoy it, I'd like to see another follow-up mini or more explorations like this. Versus it, and this is going to seem like a weird thing to say, versus it going to an ongoing series. I'd like to see kind of like what they're doing with Starlin's minis right now, with those cosmic ones where they're continuing.
Yeah.
I would love very much to see this type of thing continue as a series of miniseries like that. Even if they're maintained monthly, but that they're written as arcs like this, because it just seems to work really well in this type of format. Maybe, certainly if they went to series with it at some point, I would immediately check it out because I'm liking this so much. But this seems to feel like a film, and I like that aspect. I had a question for you. The lead vampire is attacked at the end by Romeo, and then Romeo bites him in the neck. Now, in traditional vampire stories, will that heal him? What happens when you bite a vampire? Because that's more your area of expertise than mine. I didn't know. I had that question for you.
Yeah, there's been various stories where vampires can feed on other vampires.
Okay.
And I remember a series, it was, I want to say Sunglasses After Dark, where the one character, she's a female vampire, and she's kind of like an anti-hero. She's the quote-unquote hero of the story, but she kind of walks the line, and one of the things is she feeds on vampires, and that's who she feeds on. That's kind of what makes her the hero, because she's not really feeding on humans. And,
right.
And it was this really cool scene where she's like sucking on her mentor, her maker, and she's just slowly draining him, and he's thinking, aha, she's, my little dog, yes, drink of some of my blood. Okay, you can stop now. Stop. And she just sucks him dry, and it was kind of like the don't throw me in the briar patch type thing. And as soon as I'm reading that with Dead Romeo, I'm like, oh, this is a same kind of guy. And they've done stuff with vampires where if you drink from another vampire, you get some of their strength in you, and it's, kind of like their version. Male and female vampires would do that like in their version of intimate relations, where they would each drink of each other's blood, and it would be a sharing of who they are, their essence, and their spiritual.
It's a way of connecting.
Yeah, it's like a deeper level of
than even humans could.
Yeah, it's becoming one with each other by sharing each other's blood. So I definitely, as soon as he bit into it, I'm like, oh god, this is going to be cool, because I'm wondering if he's going to get some of the darkness in him. Is he just going to get nourishment? Is it going to be, what's going to happen here? Because there's been so many variations with
he's in dire straits at this point.
Yeah, he's hurting real bad.
He had to kill the girl in the beginning. That was, in the position that he was put in, where he had to make that choice. And he had to do this internal rationalization that if she died, she'd at least go to heaven, because he knew he was in a no-win spot. Either he would get her, or they would tear them both apart. So he's kind of like, at this point, what purpose does it serve? Nobility at this point isn't going to save the girl, which was an interesting distinction. He sees it as a lost cause, and then he sees himself as a lost cause too. When when he rescues her, you can tell that in his mind he's like, multiple times, save yourself. Don't worry about me. I'm not
Yeah.
worth it concept, and I love that. He gets torn to shreds with damage to the eye, lost an arm, eventually lost a leg. Whisper and her dog, very well written. The dog jumps to the fence of his owner. She has very genuine affection when they try to kill the dog. I'm curious to see what happens, because Romeo's torn between self-preservation, helping the girl. His conscience wins the day, and I really love that.
And I like the fact that he's not of the mindset that this one act of kindness that he's doing is going to make up for anything that he's done in this. This isn't, this isn't going to open up the gates of heaven for him.
No,
he's a nasty killer. He's an SOB, and this one act of kindness, this one goodness, is not enough to save him. So he knows when he's destroyed, when he dies again, it's back down to suffering and torment beyond anything he had before, because it'll get even worse for him, when he goes back down.
I like that Romeo apparently doesn't want to feed on humans. Yeah. That's something that really bothers him, and it's a line that he doesn't want to cross. I think I get the impression that he would if he has to, but it's something that really disgusts him. But it's a need that he has, and he fights it because he just doesn't, he finds it repulsive. And I like the distinction between them. He's a very cool character. I really like him, and it's funny, like I said, I want this as a mini, and I'd like to see it continue as minis. I want to see it continue, though. Like any good movie series, you want to see it go to series and continue on as arcs. I just think that this reads very well like this right now. I'm anxious to see where this arc ends, and I'm hoping that it generates enough interest that we see more Dead Romeo after this, because 2 issues in, and I'm really having a good time with this one.
Yeah, this is definitely really, if you're horror, vampire, definitely pick this thing up. This has just been a great read, and there's different little twists and turns, and I'm just wondering where the heck this is going to go.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the best way to say it. It's just a cool book, and it's if that's your cup of tea, I would definitely check it out and give it a shot. It's nice because it's a mini, so if you find that it wasn't your thing, you're in a mini.
Yeah.
So you can, it's really easy to abandon ship. If you didn't like, you don't have to necessarily buy the whole mini if you didn't like it. But if you did, you're only in for 6 issues.
Yeah.
So if you're completist and saying, well, if I pick it up, I'm going to buy the whole thing. You're buying 6 issues, and I would pick it up because I really enjoy it. The artwork's great. It's something different. I want to end off with Final Crisis Aftermath Run #1. This one, Freddie Williams II. Woo.
Hoorah!
The Human Flame is back, and he is a classic Weasel villain. It's not his fault. He's the victim, and he may be the hairiest villain in the DC universe.
Oh, my God. This guy just puts Weasel, smarmy. Talk about somebody you want to see get the smack crap out of him. Oh, I just want to see it so bad. I want to see, Green Arrow turn him into a pincushion. Just you pick it. I want to see it. And it just, we talked earlier about Kanjar Row. And
well, we didn't.
Oh wait,
not yet for anybody here. They'll have to understand that when we talked about Trinity. That's next episode.
That's next episode. Sorry.
For us, chronologically, it was a few minutes ago. For them, it's not yet. Yeah. But Kanjar Row and this guy are actually a pretty good.
They're a good team.
Like one thing I didn't say on that is I'd like to develop a Whack-A-Row game instead of Whack-A-Mole.
Oh yeah,
and applies here. I actually, with this guy, I'd like to buy a playground just so I could beat him up on it.
Oh.
And I bet you I could get a whole bunch of friends that if they read this would want to do it as well.
Or dodgeball. Just throw them in and beat them up with the rubber balls. Yeah.
The most sincere compliment I can give this book is it's the first one of the batch that's come out so far. And I wasn't jumping through the roof when these minis were announced. I was kind of like, the one I was interested in was obviously the one with
Escape.
Yeah, Escape.
Nemesis,
that was the one that I was interested in. I was intrigued and I pre-ordered them. But, I kind of moved on from the Final Crisis events. I was kind of like, I've kind of found out everything I want to know. I was pleasantly surprised over how, this was... It's not even an issue anymore of whether it was Final Crisis related or not. This is just fun. This is really a very cool series. And this one, I'm so glad I picked it up. Because when I read the issue, I immediately read it a second time because I was laughing.
Yeah.
Probably when I shouldn't have been. But it's because it was so entertaining in its presentation and accurate to what this character would be like.
Oh, God,
and he is such a weasel.
Yeah, just the loving father, and
Oh God, we'll get to that in a minute, because I was glad to see some sense of the what the style disorientation as the thing kicked off, post being in a Justifier helmet. Like, it wasn't just a blam, I'm I'm out of the Justifier helmet, life's good again. He had to, he was in the hospital, and his reaction makes sense. He cares about no one but himself, and he's assuming there's a hunt for him from the various friends of Martian Manhunter. Adding to the fact that this guy is a total scum is his justification that John's death was okay because he isn't the same species.
Yeah.
Right away in the beginning of the book, I want to smack this guy down. Shakes a friend down for money, which leads him to work a job where he's basically stealing from the Kyrgyzstani mob. And they planned to just steal money, but then Joey accidentally kills one of the mob. Now, this gets him into a bad situation where I'm sure he's going to wind up being a very marked man at this stage.
Yeah, that's kind of... they don't like it when you take their money and kill people.
Now, I had a little respect for the guy in the beginning, but that was all lost when he started engaging in horseplay at the Barnyard Burger. Like a no horseplay. Yeah. That's all that nonsense is going on around him. No honor among thieves as Joey takes off with the money to save himself. And I do like that this shows the different class hierarchy between your high-end supervillains like your Lex Luthor and Grodd and stuff like this, and your low-end thugs where Human Flame skirts that category line. I gotta say, Lamb Chop from Sherry Lewis and Lamb Chop taking an appearance here. And yes, I'm severely, aging myself here. Stopped Joey from getting away. This was a fabulous art choice. When the Human Flame gets the spray can and the lighter, you see a different confidence come over him. It was a very dark look over his face, but there was a confidence, like a,
he's the Human Flame.
Oh,
This is his deal, man. This is his bag.
Visually stunning transition, and I love when a comic captures the character outside, because he didn't have the costume on at this point, but it was clear that there was a transition to somebody like they had it on. Although I will argue that poor Lamb Chop was just an innocent bystander.
Yeah. Oh, man.
All right, I'm a romantic at heart, so I was totally suckered in by Mike winning over his wife. I'm like, okay, we're getting to see here the other side of this guy and all that. Not only did the scumbag turn on his wife by tying her up, but he's a real turd for abandoning his daughter. And wait, he took the car and her bike.
Yeah.
I mean, what a yutz.
Yeah, it was funny because when he was tying up the wife and he's got her bound and gagged, you still could kind of maybe give him some justification that said, well, you can say he doesn't want her to seem like she's aiding and abetting a fugitive, so he's going to tie her up so it looks like
so
stealing.
You were still suckered in.
Right. Well, no, I wasn't. I knew.
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I got suckered in at the beginning of the whole thing.
I got so suckered in the beginning, and I'm thinking, are we going to see a different side of him? That as soon as you say, like, oh, okay.
And I figured that the heroes were going to come after him, and that was going to force him to go on the run, and that was the whole thing.
But come on, his daughter, he couldn't have gone in there, read a little story, which would have been kind of creepy, seeing the mom was bound and gagged in the other room.
Poor kid. My bike! It's great stuff. He really came for the prototype of his outfit. That was the only reason he was there. I was glad that we didn't kick off with the superheroes. Establish the Human Flame as the main character and a major turd, take us on his journey, and, the assumption that he killed Joey fits the crime scene. More interesting is that the Human Flame didn't really kill anybody. Because as far as I saw there, I didn't see anybody killed, other than, Joey was killed, but not by him.
Yeah, not by him.
Who else was killed? People were hurt.
The one guy who got burnt, did he survive?
Yeah, remember they were taking him away? And,
okay.
He was okay. He's guilty of a violent assault on Lamb Chop as well.
Yeah.
Do you think Sherry Lewis was there, but we didn't see her because she can run faster than Joey? Is that something off camera that we didn't see?
Probably. I'm going to say that, yeah.
Let Lamb Chop fend.
On your own, one to beat.
Dude, he not only, like I said, took the family truckster, but
he takes a bite. Come on. He's mean.
It's interesting that not only the heroes are after him, but the villains like Luthor put a hit out on him as well. The thugs come to collect, while the Human Flame is very powerful in his classic suit. The tank on his back puts him at risk. We're left with a cliffhanger, with the tank punctured and ready to explode. Totally took me by surprise, this book. Kudos to the whole creative team on this. Matthew Sturgis on the writing, Freddie Williams, the whole art team, everybody that did that. This was really, it was a good-looking book. It was a very fun ride. I hope the other minis, this set the bar very high for me on what I'm expecting
right out the gate,
now.
man. This hit it right out the gate, hitting hard. Definitely going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, so I was, just to me, woof. It was funny. I wanted to go on and on, but these, geez, the speeding bullets this particular episode. I really wanted to get this in because you and I haven't had a chance to record in a couple of weeks, and there were a lot of books that we wanted to talk about. So there we go.
Holy caffeine!
Our sponsor for this episode is DCBService.com, where you can pick up the Batman Cacophony hardcover at a special discount. Written by Kevin Smith with art by Walter Flanagan and Sandra Hope, with a cover by Adam Kubert. Renowned comics writer, film director Kevin Smith steps into Gotham City for the tale featuring the mysterious masked killer known as Onomatopoeia, who sets his sights and sounds against the Cape Crusader. But how does the Joker figure into this saga? The wild ride that caught Batman between the Joker and Onomatopoeia in this 3-issue miniseries comes to a crashing halt as Batman is forced to choose between capturing Onomatopoeia and saving the Joker's life. Featuring an introduction from Kevin Smith and his script from the 3rd issue, 144 pages, regularly $19.99, 50% off, only $9.99. Whatever your shipping preferences, your bag and boarding preferences, DCBService.com is your source for your collected edition needs. InStockTrades.com has a really cool looking book that I own, and I think it's absolutely wonderful. It's called the Bizarro World hardcover. Where else could the world's greatest alternative cartoonists run rampant through the DC universe in an all-new anthology of utterly unhinged stories and art? It could only happen in the Bizarro world. This big slab of comics features the work of many of the fantastic creators who worked on the Bizarro comics book and made it an award winner. This time, the contributors weaving the strange and wonderful tales about the quirky Bizarro include Tony Millionaire, Kyle Baker, Evan Dworkin, Dylan Harrix, Harvey Pekar, James Kochalka, Peter Baggy, Scott Morse, and Ben Dunn, and a bunch of others. These are really interesting short stories featuring Bizarro that take the Bizarro concept in all kinds of different directions. It's a lot of fun for people looking for an interesting conversation book that they can page through, read, a short little segment here, a short little segment there, and just have a fun time being entertained by. Regularly $29.95, 37% off, only $18.87. This is a wonderful read, so if you haven't had a chance to pick this one up, you definitely want to consider it. Either this or the Bizarro Comics softcover, which is also available. And it's along the same lines as $19.95, 37% off, only $12.57. These are wonderful stories if you're looking for something fun. The first one, Bizarro's Comics, is a winner of the Harvey and Eisner Awards for Best Anthology. So these are wonderful books if you're looking for something different that you may have missed, and just something that I'd recommend you consider. InStockTrades.com offers free shipping on orders of $50 or more, so thank you for supporting us, InStockTrades.com. Also sponsoring us is the Drawer Box Storage System, which Jim and I are big fans of. You're going to want to go to www.collectiondrawer.com to check that out. That's www.collectiondrawer.com. And you're going to find this wonderful and unique storage system, an amazing way to store your collection. So hopefully you'll check that out and enjoy it. Please let them know that Raging Bullets sent you. I want to announce that we have a contest winner, which is going to be Super Mandy. Mandy from the forums, who's been doing the Life in the Gutter column, which is absolutely wonderful. You haven't checked that out. There's a new one that's releasing along with this episode. Our contest is ongoing, so please consider submitting something for the website. Remember, it can be something as simple as a cartoon strip. It can be a Where's What Not Now, where you put Jim or myself in some crazy situations. It can be an article or a blog or something that you want to regularly contribute to. It can be a one-shot deal of a review of a book that you'd really like to chat about. Any of those things. And if you have other ideas that I'm not considering, like banners or things like that that you want to create, or anything, if you've got some crazy idea of something that you think would be beneficial to the website that you want to do. Everything you do counts as a contest entry, and I do keep them, and they're ongoing. So anybody who's been submitting things, your name's still in there. Mandy, as the winner, is going to be able to choose our next in-stock trades Rage of the Month, where we're going to have a listener come and join us. So Mandy is going to select that. I will be announcing that in a couple of weeks when we do our long Halloween episode, because that'll give Mandy some time to kind of choose the one that she wants. We'll do the long Halloween one and announce the next one that's coming up. So I'm really excited for that. That'll be airing this summer. We'll announce more details of that after we've made the selection, and we can take a look at when we're going to air that. It'll definitely be in the summer, probably in the month of July, that we will air Mandy's episode. I'm really excited for that, so congratulations, Mandy. And remember, once again, that's ragingcontest@gmail.com if you'd like to participate. Jim, our next episode we're going to be releasing on Monday, and we're going to be talking about Trinity, issues 46 to... Maybe, seeing as we've got to finish up the recording, let's go all the way to 50.
Okay.
You want to do that? We'll just a casual discussion about the issues beyond that. We had a great discussion with friend of the show, Alan Pasalacqua, where we talked about issues 46 and 47 with him. And Jim, you and I will finish. We'll discuss 48, 49, and 50 of this wonderful series. I think Trinity has just been a brilliant series. And
yeah, it's one we haven't had a chance to talk about, but it's still something that... it was right there at the top of the stack. Grab it, read it, love it. And really now it's coming to a head, and it's really just the action's like boom, 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 boom. It's been a great build, and it's just a fun ride.
And I'm going to be selling a Whack-A-Row game with Kanjaro. It's going to take the moles out and you put little heads of Kanjaro in, because this is a series where I've wanted to beat that guy up so bad. And which is, to me, brilliant character development, because he's supposed to be a character that you dislike intensely. So we're going to talk a little bit about Kanjaro and my disdain for him as well throughout this series. But it's such a wonderful comic, and I think we really have got to delve into what's been so great about it. So we'll be talking about basically... loosely, we'll be talking about 5 issues of the series and really kind of getting ready for the wrap-up of this wonderful book. So we will see you next week.
Bye!
Just because I think this is so insane, we have to talk about this.
There's more connection between Tiger Woods and Jonah Hex, because we were talking about how the importance of being a Hex, the importance of the name. Well, Tiger.
This is a great example, though, for listeners that like when we're not recording the show, we keep talking about this nonsense, and this is a great example of the nonsense. We're talking about Tiger Woods and Jonah Hex and how they're... It's like 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, but with Tiger Woods and Jonah Hex right now. Why are we doing this?
Yeah. Well, it's... Okay, Tiger is named after a guy who in Vietnam saved his father's life. Okay. Now, the gentleman's was a Southern Vietnamese Army and working in conjunction with the Special Forces unit, and his... I think it was Fawn something, but I'm not sure what his real name was. But everyone in the unit always called him Tiger. Mm-hmm. And so when he saved, Tiger's dad, he's like, "I'm going to name my firstborn after you." And the guy's like, "Oh, Fawn Woods." He's like, "No, I'm going to call him Tiger." And that's how Tiger got his name. And that's his actual real official name is Tiger Woods. It's not a nickname. So, it's just, you're talking about just the importance of being a Hex, the importance of his name. Well, there's an importance behind Tiger's name as well. It's not just some goofy name that he was given. There's a real, this is named after someone who saved his father's life. So
this is just so insane to me that we're even discussing this.
I know.
Just kind of got to throw this together quickly. And I'm like, I'll throw this on for the blooper reel real quick, because I think this is just so insane that we we had stopped recording and we're ready to jump on to some quick voicemails. Yeah.
And I was going to interrupt what you're talking, but you had that really cool rant going on about it. And I'm like, I won't throw it on there.
No, but then we started talking about it. And I'm like, this is really an interestingly bizarre story, because it makes total sense why you were discussing it. So I'm not mocking you at all.
God, no.
It's why I'm recording this, because I'm like, this is really funny that you're really making this genuine connection that makes total sense between this guy and Jonah Hex. Yeah. 2 people who couldn't be more opposite.
Here's the funny thing. I didn't make this connection while I was reading it. I was I was just delved in the story. It was when you were talking about it, I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, you didn't come here with that planned?
No, this was off the cuff, dude. This literally...
I so totally thought, I'm like, oh, Jim really did some homework for this.
No. The only homework I did was just read the issue, and I was I was agreeing with you how it's really powerful, and just, and it was just while you're talking, it just something clicked in my head. I'm like, oh my God, that's Tiger.
This show is nuts. Just go with it, because
just continue it on, because
I was
there's more to the story.
Wrapped this up and mixed it down, and you're still going.
There's more to the story.
Okay.
Part of the reason I know about Tiger Woods is because of my dad. my dad is probably one of the biggest Tiger Woods fans.
Okay.
And, Dad, it's, my dad's kind of, a little bit laid back. He's a little bit mellow and he sits back. But, especially when Tiger first had his first big run, and he's first going for his first Masters, Dad was glued to the TV watching it. Dad never watched golf before. And he's watching like, oh, yeah! And very rarely do I remember hearing my dad really hoop and holler. There was, a couple of the Browns games where he was hooping and hollering, but really not getting too much into sports, especially not golf. And I still remember just seeing Dad just like, yeah, just cheering right along as Tiger wins his thing. And so when all these like TV shows and the made-for-TV movies were coming out about Tiger, Dad had to see those. And so I sat down and I watched, this with my dad. So that's how I learned about Tiger.
Now, are you going to convince Dad? See, this is where I got to take it back to the comic book connection at this point. Are you going to convince Dad that he should read Jonah Hex because he's the Tiger Woods of DC Comics? Are you going to take it that far?
I didn't even think of doing that.
Give him issue 42 and just say, we had this lengthy discussion where we brought you into the show. No, I'm serious, because right now, if I'm recording this, you darn well better show your dad an issue of Jonah Hex out of this, because I think this discussion's completely insane.
Yeah.
So I really, at this point, you have homework now.
Okay.
When you leave here today, because issue 42 is what drove this insane discussion. Right. You have to give him that issue and say, I want you to see if you can see the parallel connection between Jonah Hex and his dad and mom and Tiger Woods and his family. Because can somebody else who's coming at it from the opposite perspective, because we're coming at it from the comic fans who read Jonah Hex and bringing it back in, can your dad make the same connections that we did from the opposite end of the spectrum? I am fascinated now.
Okay, we will see.
Because this is insane to me. That we even discussed this is insane to me.
And we discussed this in multiple segments. I'm like, hold on, I'm not done yet. Go back.
I'm like, okay, fine. If we're going to go do this, and I'm throwing this on as the blooper reel, we have to end this with you have homework now.
Okay.
And the next time we record, I want you to see if you actually, so that you've got to come back and our follow-up on the next episode is going to be that we are going to talk about, did Dad actually read Jonah Hex? Did he read Jonah Hex, first of all? And if he did he see that there's any form of connection at all between Tiger Woods and Jonah Hex? Because there's something wrong with this connection. I see it, and I agree with you, but I think there's something wrong with both of us that we see the connection here.
Yeah.
If your dad sees it, it's going to at least give us some redemption.
Right.
This is crazy. What we hear here is definitely blooper reel material. I do want to put out a little bit of a warning. There's no swearing on it per se, but you do talk about some adult topics like drinking and I don't know what else.
Oh, the movie site and
exactly. So it is something for parents. You might want to abandon ship at this point in time, just for that particular.
Listen to it privately.
But
and make the decision.
There's no swearing.
There's no. I try to keep it PG. But
the topics tend to be more adult oriented, so we wanted to give you a special warning on this. It's one of the
bizarrest things.
It's one of the stupider segments we've actually recorded, and yet for some strange reason, I found myself unable to stop. It was, yeah. So I think I'll let this speak for itself, and if you're leaving here, which I recommend, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bright light city, gonna set my soul on fire. Viva Las Vegas, baby. It's the Sensei of the Whatnot calling in, and I am in once again my favorite town in Las Vegas. I am getting hammered at the tables, but I'm making up for it with some alcohol. Yeah, a little bit drunk right now, but I figured, what the hell? Give a call and give a check-in and say howdy to everybody. I'll probably be doing this periodically, but I may not sing next time. I don't know. All depends on how much I've had to drink. I got some people looking at me like I'm a freaking nut jobby. Oh, well. I think I'm going to hang up on this one now. Take it easy, everybody. Talk to you later and whatnot. Adios and goodbye.
You are aware that you don't have to call in. You are where, like, we record together. And
Yeah,
that
I know,
type of
but
thing?
I figured this time, this is how I did my Vegas trip this time, where I called it in, every night. Well, I tried to do every night, and I actually, for the record, and I do later explain this, but I was calling from outside my casino, so I was in public. That's what I was saying. People were looking at me like I was standing in the middle of the Vegas Strip singing into my cell phone when that happened. I was standing on like a bridge. There's a walkway from Flamingo over to Caesars, and I was standing on that, singing into my cell phone, and there was a couple people, I'm not sure which Oriental persuasion, Asian persuasion they were, but they were just looking at me like going, what the heck is that person doing? And that's kind of why I cut it off, because I think I was freaking them out because they were trying to take some really cool night pictures of the Strip, but I think I was upsetting them.
Wait, I'm wondering what the hell we're doing. Okay, we just recorded a voicemail of you calling in from Vegas that has nothing to do with drunk dialing, that has nothing to do with comic books, on a comic book related podcast, and now we're commenting on your comments calling in to our comic book related podcast that has nothing to do with comic books.
Right. I do address this in a later issue, a later call.
A later issue.
A later call-in. At a later call-in, I do address that very same comment you just made.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Trust me.
Yeah, I am.
Hey, greetings and salutations from a, this time sober, Sensei of the Whatnot. Yeah, learned a very valuable lesson this vacation so far. Medicine I'm taking reacts with alcohol in a way that it enhances the effects. So I was really giggly and whatnot yesterday when I called. I was hoping to tell a little bit of couple details going on from vacation, but so far it's been a relatively uneventful one. Well, I did have, after hanging up with you guys, while I was still a little bit tipsy there, was sitting there talking to, flirting with, hitting on, whatever you want to call it, a little 20-something, but I'm sure you guys don't want to hear about those details. Let's see here. It's still losing pretty badly at the tables. I have gotten the chance to read the Gotham Central, the first trade, so I got a little comic talk. Outstanding. Really cool. Looking forward to the current stuff we got coming out, but that's enough comic book talk. Yeah, this is just a comic book show. Why would I want to include comic book talk? Yeah, I think I'm probably going to head out now because it's 11:30 Vegas time, which, according to my internal clock, is 2:30 in the morning, and I'm exhausted. Oh, by the way, all these recordings I am doing are from atop of a bridge. It's a walkway, a people walkway, but it is still technically a bridge, so I am confronting my fear of bridges. Take it easy, and talk to you guys probably tomorrow. Bye.
Now let me get this straight. You called to tell us that you are no longer drunk.
Right.
There's nothing really going on.
Right.
That you read Gotham Central, but you don't really want to talk about it because it's a comic book show.
Right. Why would I want to do that?
Okay. That you were hitting on a 20-something, but that we wouldn't want to hear about.
Oh, no. Why would you want to hear about me making a complete ass of myself? Come on.
Right. Well, actually, I think the whole phone call already verified that. I mean, it's because I'm just going through thing after thing after thing. I'm like, why are we doing this?
Yeah. Gotham Central, though, that was really just an outstanding.
Isn't that great?
Oh my God.
Brubaker and Rucka.
Yeah,
Good
and it was that the hardbound that came out. I picked that up.
Has there been a second? I think there's been a second solicited now, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I think the second one's been solicited. I ordered it, and that's as it comes out, I'm jumping on those things. That was just,
was that
wow.
Did that have the Michael Lark artwork? Do you remember?
I do not remember.
The artwork was the whole series. The artwork was very visually pleasing. So it's a very noir style presentation to it, and it was a great exploration of the supporting cast of the Gotham City Police Department, which is something that I'm hoping we get out of like Streets of Gotham and stuff like that when we see that. So
yeah, it's funny with my pills and all that, because I got my internal medicine, and you would think I would have been intelligent and not actually drank or talk to my doctor before going out there saying, hey, how do these react with alcohol? But nah, I was like sitting at the table like, rum and coke, come on, just keep it coming. So
you're insane.
Yeah, I did learn my lesson though, so
Hey, once again, it's the Sensei of the Whatnot calling in from Viva Las Vegas. Sorry, I couldn't call yesterday. I'm trying to call once a day just to give you guys a little update on what's going on with me in my favorite city here. I got sick yesterday. No, it was not alcohol related. I was over at Harrah's having fun at the tables, and all of a sudden I started a massive percolation. Figured maybe I could, ride it out and continue gambling, and I had a secondary rumble that started to make me nauseous. So I'm like, I'm in trouble here, and quickly, cashed in my chips, ran to the nearest restroom and had a massive release. Then I somehow made it back to my room. I was in massive pain and had a couple more releases, and then said, I'm going to bed. Went to bed at about 6 in the evening, woke up next morning, 6 a.m., starting to feel, now actually feeling pretty good after a full day of gambling and whatnot. I think, I'm going to bet it was the deep-fried Twinkie I had that, kind of sent me over the edge. Not 100% certain, but everything I ate, that's probably the highest likelihood. Had a pretty good day today. Had a pretty fun day today. Got to see some guy get thrown out, for drunk and disorderly conduct. It was actually kind of funny, they showed, the security showed a lot more restraint than I imagined they would, but, they got the job done, so it's kind of cool. And turns out I may end up in a video advertisement for a certain adult website. Not certain. I'll give the details when we play this on the show. No, it's not what you think. It's not the Sensei Does Vegas or anything like that. But it's a PG story, kind of. So I think I'm going to check out with that one. And y'all have a good day, and hope you're having as much fun as I am. Take it easy. Bye.
Let me guess, it's Poopers Gone Wild? Because
nice.
You called up a comic podcast again to give us an update for about the first 3/4 of that phone call on your pooper.
Yes, dude.
You aware of that?
Okay,
Yeah.
You know what? I listened to Opie and Anthony, and they played over and over again this audio comment that Mike, the Hall of Fame baseball player, Mike Schmidt, says how he had an accident while he was in Vegas one time.
Okay.
So I'm sitting at the table, and I'm just thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm going to poop my pants. And I was doing the clenched cheeks, kind of waddle type thing down the strip going, please don't do it, please don't do it, please hold it, please hold. And it was just one of those, wow, I could not, I was just like panicking. I was sweating as I'm going, oh, please no, please don't do this to me, please don't do this to me. Kind of like just whispering, talking to myself, kind of like giving myself that pep talk. Come on, almost there, come on, you can do it, as I'm doing the squat and run. Just, oh man.
You know what I'm loving about all this? The people before who were saying, boy, Sean, you're a little, hard on Jim when you say that he's crazy or insane. You are validating me in multiple phone calls. There are people right now who are writing me apology letters.
Probably.
Sean, I used to think you were really, just say Jim was crazy or anything like that. He's just misunderstood. This is crazy.
Yes.
Wait a minute, you never told us. What is this video?
I was wondering if you were going to...
Yes,
okay,
I didn't catch that. I was literally going to stop this right there, and I started it back up again. I'm like, wait, we forgot something.
Well, we also got the drunk getting thrown out story, too. That's kind of cool. But I can merge those two together.
Oh, good.
Because they kind of have...
They link somehow?
Yes, they actually...
Okay.
The reason I was able to get in the... Well, possibly in the video. There's, it's an adult site, and I found later, as I was doing research on the site, because I wanted to see if I actually made it into the video. They're doing an advertisement as this young, absolutely gorgeous woman is, walking down the strip, and I'm pretty sure, I think I may know who it is, but I'm not 100% certain. And she's kind of like, talking into the camera. And as she's walking down, they're filming
You know her from a banking documentary, right?
Yeah. But she's an actress. So I kept walking behind the film, trying to get my face in the film. But, she had very large men surrounding her. She
I did not think that's where you were going.
She had security around her, so I really couldn't get too close. But I was trying to get my face into the shot, behind the scene as she's walking down the strip, and they're filming her, and it was kind of interesting because every time she got near a casino, security from the casino would sweep up, making sure that none of their casino got in the footage. They wouldn't want they wouldn't want it looking like they were endorsing or condoning or supporting that website or the products they're selling there. So it was kind of neat seeing them all on the front there. Well, there was some drunk dude who was kind of getting a little rowdy because she was nicely dressed, and as I said, a very beautiful woman. And security's like, okay, hey, come on, move on. And they, it was one of those things where arm lock behind the back, escort him out, and he just like disappeared. They took him around the back, got him away from the situation. I was like, damn, that was efficient. And it really was a kind of a cool, thing to see them just, move the drunk out of there. I was, kind of seeing a little bit, and stay out, kind of, throwing him out. But no, it was efficient, professional. I was like, wow, kudos.
So what is this video you're going to be in?
Well, I don't think I'm actually going to be in the average because they were.
But you still haven't gotten to that.
Oh, it's Brazzer, BRAZZER.com. It's an adult movie type website where it looks like it's like a search engine type. Where they have multiple sites on their site and all that type of stuff. So it was someone advertising the site. So I don't know.
Did they recognize you from Where's What Not Now or something?
No, they didn't. Yeah. They didn't. If they would have, they probably would have, welcomed me in the shot, but.
Jeez. This is insane.
Yes.
Hey, it's once again the Sensei of the Whatnot giving his final Las Vegas report, as today is my last day, heading back home tomorrow. Relatively quiet day today. I don't know, not too many good stories going on. I did get to see the Bellagio fountain, at nighttime, which is a cool thing. It's the dancing water with the lights and music, and it's kind of neat. It's a cheesy touristy thing, but I enjoy it anyways, So I was doing a little bit of gambling today, some losing, a lot more losing than winning, unfortunately, and just generally hang out. Oh, yeah, I had a little marriage proposal, but that's probably nothing you guys would want to hear about. I will talk to you guys later during our next recording. Hopefully you've enjoyed me doing these little things. If not, well, who knows? You may not hear it again. And since we're wrapping this up, let me just say one last time, Viva Las Vegas! Okay, I'm going to go now. Bye.
Okay. 4 frickin' phone calls. And out of those 4 phone calls, you told us nothing.
Exactly.
We got nothing from any of them.
You had fun, though.
That's debatable. That's time of my life I can't get back. And now we're sharing it with others.
Yes. Right now people are looking at their iPods going, curse you, Sensei!
Right. And and I got to be honest with you, the Gotham Central talk that we just did wasn't really that good. So, okay, what is this marriage proposal? Because we might as well give them that.
Oh, okay. I was, as the table...
Obviously you didn't call them. Because that would have shot the whole proposal down. But okay.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah. No, we're at the tables, and just no one was making any luck. And it was just kind of one of those things. And we had female, kind of nice looking, she started, she grabs the dice. She's like, and it was funny. She kind of had the language of a drunken sailor, if you will, but without the alcohol. You know, so she was stone cold sober, but her favorite word was the F-bomb. And she was just dropping it left and right. What the F is going on? No one's making a effing point. That just, going on and on and on. And I was just sitting there kind of laughing, and I'm just like, what a lady, And it got the table just started laughing, and the mood just started changing, and things were going good. And it had the point where she had a long roll, and she still hadn't made the point. So I just look at her and go, if you make the next point, I'll marry you. Bam! She made the point. And so everyone's like, I'm like, oh crap! I just proposed.
Oh, you did the marriage
I
proposal.
did the marriage proposal.
That's the way you presented that?
Oh.
It sounded like someone proposed to you.
No. I did the proposal, and I'm like, oh, crap, And then, it kind of turned into the whole funny bit about, she and I were going to get married, and everyone at the table was laughing out, hey, this is Vegas, what happens in Vegas, and,
No, wait. You said this was a pretty girl, right?
Well, yeah, she was kind of cute. I would definitely say, plain Jane, curvy, kind of not, she wasn't like, a fashion model type thing, but she wasn't
why
like
were you saying,
three bagger.
Crap, when the marriage proposal hit?
Well, because I really don't want to get married.
Okay.
I enjoy being single.
All right.
So, and as the going on, find out she's actually dating some guy and all this stuff, and the dude shows up.
Did he beat you up?
Oh God, no. It was funny because she, as I said, she's curvy, Rubenesque. It would be a good term.
Okay.
She was. I don't want to call her fat. Because she wasn't, but she was, a big, thick, solid girl.
You said she was a cute girl.
Yeah, she's definitely cute and, definitely attractive.
Right, so.
Her boyfriend, came, and we're talking, dude's probably, his body was about as skinny as my wrist. He's this little tiny thing. And everyone just was, everyone at the table was kind of like, we didn't want to laugh. It was just such a dramatic difference in the two. You got this little skinny guy and, this girl who is very, just out there. And he was very quiet and she's very, just boisterous. And, and it was, I don't know, it was just probably not a funny story for people right now, sorry. But it was just this weird, kind of strange dichotomy. And then when everything was said and done, she was finally leaving the table. I'm like, hey, I thought we were getting married. Now, the talk about just a look of, kind of look from the guy. And everyone at the table was kind of like cracking up because we all know the joke. And she's just like, I gotta go. And she leaves with the guy. And I'm sitting there like, rejected at the altar again. And it was just,
If anyone wants to call Raging Bullets with comic book related stories, it's 1-440-388-4434. On our next episode, which will be 161, we'll actually get to listeners talking about comics. As opposed to one of the co-hosts calling in to talk about nothing. Where we actually had to comment on you talking about nothing in order to actually get any sort of story out of this.
Right.
Which is why this is so blooper reel material. There's something wrong with this. We've gone from talking about Tiger Woods relating to Jonah Hex to you talking about how you did nothing in Vegas except maybe wind up in an adult film.
Yeah.
Promo.
Promo, not a film.
Yes, not the actual film itself.
Not the actual film.
Right. Just the promo for the film.
I could have, but,
Wow. We will see you next week.
Bye.